YouTube, what's going on? How you guys doing? Well, looking forward to the show tonight. We have some football that's in the books. It's done. Auburn. I said Auburn. I've got Auburn on the brain right now. Nebraska's demise was as bad as we thought it might be. Johnny, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're really gonna have to prevent ourselves from just only talking about that. It'll be tempting.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the funny thing is, like, as ridiculous and as horrible as it is for Nebraska, there's only so much you can say about it because it's the exact same thing as last year. It's a carbon copy of last year, basically.
I would say it's probably more. This game was more on Scott Frost. Like,
yeah, right.
In game
Yes.
than I think it ever has been, though.
That's fair.
Like, I think that was more evident than it's ever been. Just like, I think a lot of the ways that they lost you could attribute to coaching before were like, this is something that you should have gone through in practice. And like, if your coach, like well-coached teams don't make this mistake over and over again.
Right.
This time it was literally like, yeah, the players made some dumb decisions, but like Scott Frost, like kind of lost them the game in many ways, like to where like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just, I don't think it was so blatant where before you could almost explain it away. Like, oh, well, man, that was so unlucky. This time I'm like, no, like,
It's all you, bud.
yeah, it's all you. Like, and I would say some other receivers, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought, we'll talk about it obviously, but I thought Casey Thompson looked pretty good. Like, had about a flawless first half. Second half wasn't great, but he was getting zero help. So,
I'm literally the pick to end the game. Like, was it a perfect throw? No. But it went right through your hands.
yeah. He should have
And, like,
zero interceptions.
Hit your hands.
Both.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. That's
Like,
one of those. That's one of
there's-
those things where like an interception needs to be a wide receiver stat too, because both of those
Yes.
picks deserve to go in the.
You were just like,
wide receivers there, or the tight ends, I guess, kind of as it was.
yeah, ain't no way that is Casey Thompson's fault. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah. I haven't heard from Josh. He's not in the show notes at all either. So I don't know if I texted 6:30 in the group, like Eastern time. I don't know if maybe he forgot or if he's running a couple minutes behind. That's all good too. But
Well, did he know? I mean, we did this a couple weeks ago at 6:30.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was gonna say I couldn't remember if it was. Darn it, you're okay. You have the same South pick as me. I didn't
yeah.
think we would. Didn't think we would.
Someday we'll think differently on something.
We still do.
Yeah,
We still have
every once
plenty
in a
that
while.
are different. There's a couple. Actually, I guess it's not that many.
No, it's not.
Yeah. No, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, let me shoot him a text and see. And if not, we can just flip the order. We could just do our football show first.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm always like good to go. I can't believe Josh got us on that though.
I know he did.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe it.
Like he's the only one who picked Northwestern.
That's what he says. Usually, I feel like he's in the show notes pretty actively before the show. So let's see what's going on. And then yeah, down below I just kind of put an outline of our stuff for our show.
Oh yeah, totally good.
That works.
You could I have a bunch of stuff that I could follow this week. There was a lot of just random stuff.
Yeah.
South Carolina's mascot choice. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Did you see that they actually like announced what the name would be today?
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
Boo.
nope,
Yeah.
too late. nobody gonna actually call it that now. Like, you should have never given it enough time,
right?
Because they didn't announce that. Like, it was just the local paper, put it out there. So I'm. Oh man,
Josh, what's up, man?
Hello, how's it going? Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Dude, that haircut's looking fresh, man.
Thank you. Thank you. New semester, gotta.
It's looking good.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah. I like it.
How are you guys?
Good. Yeah, we're just warming up, getting our Nebraska takes set.
Just warming up, Josh. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything.
You did not miss anything.
No worries.
We're just warming up.
Yeah.
Be fun.
Did you guys also see?
Because I'll take that. I'll take it.
Did you guys see Jim Harbaugh's press conference today?
I can't even.
And I sent it to you guys in the Twitter group.
Yeah, actually, that needs to be what I'm following. I was looking for something.
That comment was the best thing ever.
Fantastic.
The comment on the quote retreat though is what killed me. Like, he's.
I'm going to disconnect for a hot sec.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Oh man, I mean that just killed me. I was so. Oh man.
I think I'm back.
Johnny, unless I'm stealing that from you. If you're already
no.
talk about that.
Because you're following the pumpkin guy.
Well, I'm torn between the South Carolina mascot and the pumpkin guy going down the river. So I mean, it was just a great week.
Yeah, it's been a really good week, guys.
We're just going to look at both.
Amazing.
Yes,
that works.
You know what?
We don't have a fantasy football segment this week, so we've got a little bit extra time.
Okay.
Good.
Don't tell me that, Aaron. I need to.
Oh dang!
I always need.
Guys, 54 minutes ago, Armando Villarreal painted helmets for Utah just dropped.
Oh shoot! Really?
Shoot. All right.
I thought you were going to say
Hang on. Stream, you guys gotta see.
I thought you were going to say Jimmy Garoppolo stuff.
No, that too. All right. If you don't know YouTube, if you're watching this and you don't know, hang on. Let me get my camera up here. Last year around October, we had artist Armando Villarreal on our show. Awesome interview. Go check it out. It's on this YouTube channel. He did the USS Salt Lake City uniforms for the game against Oregon. These are hand painted for. I'm trying to remember the name of. There's a couple players within the last 2 years for Oregon. I am blanking on their names, but they passed away tragically in the last couple years. So these are a hand painted memorial to them. These are sick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously
they're best friends.
Yeah.
They both wore number 22.
Ty Jordan was one of them. I'm misremembering the other person's name.
I'm trying to see it here.
Oh my gosh, guys!
Wow.
The comments aren't helping me out. But everybody's loving them for obvious reasons. Amazing.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so ready for this.
All right, let me tweet this out real quick.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta have another tab open. I love this.
Yeah, and he was amazing on the show. Honestly, I know he's probably one of our least known guests that we've had. He might honestly be my favorite one that we've had on. Yeah. No disrespect to the others, just part of me honestly couldn't believe that. I think Utah was literally in prime time that week, if I remember right, last fall, and ESPN didn't really even interview him or anything. Yeah. And I was like, what the heck? He was super personable, happy to he talked with us for a really long time.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been nicer. So go back and check out that podcast. Yeah. The three of us are just in awe of.
This is at Utes Equipment on Twitter.
Oh, at Utes Equipment. I'm
it just got retweeted by someone else I followed. Yeah. So that's the only reason I saw it right away. So.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's really cool. Really cool tribute.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
They're killing it with the Utah is with helmets right now.
Yeah.
I think Armando, I saw just a couple months ago or something, maybe even just a month ago, he posted on his Twitter account that he was going full time into it again.
Yeah. Yep.
So
that's cool.
Yeah. So
who are they playing that day?
Are they playing USC that day? Is that the USC
They
game?
are. Yeah, they're hosting USC.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good call to check on that, Josh. I didn't even. That thought didn't go through my mind. Who they were playing. That makes sense. Do it on a big game. They'll be at home. I mean, both teams should be undefeated going into that game.
Good, yeah.
Utah has Florida week 1, which it's at Florida, should be a great game, and USC has Fresno State, I believe, week 3, week 2 or week 3, and if they pass those tests, they both should be, I think, 5-0. I think that's week 6.
Correct.
They play each other, so that'll be a huge game. Wouldn't be surprised if game day goes out there, just because it's really like the best game in the Pac-12 season, probably. So they only go out there usually once a year, so gotta pick the best one.
What?
Excuse me.
All right, sweet. Sorry to get distracted.
No,
on
you're
that, but
fine.
You're all right.
I'm just looking
just
at.
saw that. So look at that
No, you're good. I'm looking at NFL predictions. I've been
there you go.
doing pre-class work all day, so I'm like, you
Yeah,
know what?
sorry.
Let's go. You're fine. Also, this is finally the last. This is the last podcast you'll see where I'm in a weird windowless room.
Oh, nice.
Ignore that window. So I'm moving. Yeah, I'm moving Wednesday.
Oh,
So I'll finally have Wi-Fi in
Hey,
my
nice.
apartment again. So, but it's been fun. Oh, I'm so freaking happy about Nebraska. Let's go.
I'm
sad
not
about
gonna
it, to be
lie.
honest with you.
I
No,
I'm
wanted them
sad.
to win.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
I did
like
too.
This is
the players don't deserve that.
no.
Like,
No.
I think that's why I was just like, they don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that. That's probably why. It's like, this is insane. Nobody deserves this. Oh my. That poor team.
All I can say is USC.
They definitely think they're cursed.
USC is screwed that game, man. They are going to have a tough time.
oh my gosh, they're dead.
They're done. I'm calling it now. Utah by like 20.
20 in
I mean, for a variety of different reasons, right? But like, imagine like being in that situation. I'm not trying to say that flippantly.
You
but,
might
like,
have picked them anyway.
Yeah, I did.
anyway.
I probably would have, but I mean, but truly, the emotions behind everything that they've been through the last like 2 or 3 years, like that's just going to be. Now, there's 2 ways this could go, right? You can be overly emotional in a game like that and come out kind of flat and not focused, but I don't think that Utah team has too much experience.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
too much
trust Kyle
talent,
Whittingham. I mean, honestly, isn't that that's what we're talking about with Nebraska? And I'll kind of save that rant for later.
Yeah.
But like, you trust Kyle Whittingham. Like, that is what it amounts to ultimately, right?
Right.
Like, players have come and go at Utah. They have been consistent. I think, honestly, like the worst year they've had, even in the transition to the Pac-12, has been like 7-5, 8-4. They don't have losing seasons. And for the most part, like, they're not getting 4 or 5-star recruits. They're starting to get a few more of them. Like Phillips, their great cornerback, they actually stole from Ohio State. Like, they're consistent, and the more time they get on national television, the better they'll be.
Well, and I think
hope
about this.
They don't get left out of conference realignment, because I think they're a great and growing program.
Well, it
I
feels
think
like
there's
they
so
fit the
much
Big Ten.
potential.
Just by the style of the play. But remember too, like people's last memory of that team was getting just blitzed by Ohio State. But I'd like to remind people, number one, that was the best passing offense in the country, or just best offense in general. Number two, they were playing running backs at cornerback. They were so injured.
Yes.
That the fact that they were
fair.
that close is actually really remarkable, and I think they are being discounted. Now, going to Florida is tough. Don't get me wrong, and we'll get into that later. But I think people, obviously, the most recent memory is what's going to stick with people, and in that case, it's Ohio State dropping 45 and Smith and Jigba setting a Rose Bowl record for like 360 yards. That's what people are remembering. But there's more. Yeah, there's more to it than that. So, anyways, all right. Yeah, guys, if you're ready, I think I am as well.
I'm ready to go.
All right, I am recording.
Hold on. My whole thing just crashed, which is perfect. We wanted to do it now.
You're all right, Josh.
Oh, good.
We would actually love it to do it now.
Yeah, that's
let it
true.
Crash right now.
That is true.
That's perfect.
Much
actually.
better. I am recording. I'll just let it keep running. But
yes. Let's go. Let's try this. Okay, I'm good.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, I'll get us started. Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I'm joined once again by my good friends Josh and Jonny. We are back with another episode. It is episode 77. Guys, it's good to be back. It's good to have college football back. There was football on TV on Saturday. It was awesome. We're going to talk about it. But before we do, Josh, what's up, man? How was your week?
Dude, it's been a fun time here. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I've not had a Wi-Fi in my apartment since May. So every week we've been doing a recording. I get to pick a new room that's in the public area in my apartment. And because the semester just started, all my normal rooms are taken up by people who I guess are studying
gross
on a Monday. You remember school, guys?
I try not to.
Remembers.
I really try not to.
So I'm in like a random music room, which is great because I'm literally balancing my laptop on a piano.
Oh my gosh.
Which is perfect for just doing some little ditties.
Beautiful.
We're just doing some great stuff here.
Yeah.
I got a guitar over here. So like you don't even need to do intro music
anymore. Do you know
like,
how to play the intro? That's the real talent if you can play our intro.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. I got you.
I'll take your word for it. You're on my end. I can't hear it because of the noise gate on your mic, but it sounds great.
It was just the we intro theme.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Well, glad you're moving to a spot with that's a little bit more convenient for you, but we will miss the options to have you play background music for us while we're recording. Jonny, what's up, man? How was your week?
Good. Just got back from the road trip. You know, last week we were recording from the hotel. Down in Arkansas. Beautiful trip.
I got to ask, we left it. You were questioning whether you'd see any wild hogs. Did you see any wild hogs?
I didn't. You know, I was really disappointing. It rained pretty much the rest of the time I was in Arkansas. That didn't stop me from hiking, getting on those hikes. Kept the bugs away anyway. Can't complain. But I don't know. Maybe hogs don't like the rain, just like the bugs. So I don't know. You know, nobody from Arkansas gave me a text to let me know like if that's something I actually have to be worried about. I remember in North Carolina though, they had fences up on the App Trail to keep out those wild hogs. So I was like, well, in Arkansas, their mascot's literally a razorback. I have high expectations, but I was let down. But great trip. Friend's wedding this weekend, so I'm ready to chill for a couple of days. Good to be back.
Now, Jonny, we're going to get into something, and we have to get into the main story that we all want to talk about. Mm-hmm. But what was your number one barbecue experience?
Oh, yes.
Obviously, you're going to post. You're posting a list.
That? Well, here's the thing. You can share it now for the YouTube audience who are here, and then obviously this won't come out till Wednesday, so you have some time on your own social media.
True. For the trip, Kansas City won for sure.
Really?
Okay. For sure.
Okay.
Kansas City definitely is not the South, but for the trip's sake, they won. They got number one,
fantastic.
Pretty easily, actually. I would say.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah,
easily.
That doesn't mean I had bad barbecue the rest of the time. Sure. It was great. Kansas City was just out of this world.
Wow.
Really good. So
all right.
Happy with that.
Okay.
Good job, guys, in Kansas City. Well done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good.
A good Plains/Midwestern city.
Oh my gosh.
And enjoy the last episode. We
Yeah,
made
that's right.
77. Great job,
Yep.
guys.
We did it. Well, good. I'm glad to hear you guys' week was good. My week was good too. Just the fact that I got to sit on the couch and watch some college football on Saturday was just fantastic. Just thoroughly enjoyed it. And looking forward to more this week. I mean, I feel like it's a crazy busy week. Just there's games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday this week on the college schedule. Then we're right into the NFL a week from Thursday. So strap in. It is here. We are really in it now, but not as much as Nebraska is. How's that for a transition? We didn't really talk about it a ton, I think because we didn't think we needed to talk about what if Nebraska actually lost to Northwestern. And, things looked good at first.
I picked it as a joke. I picked it as a joke.
I know. We'll get into the actual how that affected the scoreboard of picks of the week. But Josh picked it as a joke. He's correct. Northwestern beats Nebraska. Here's the funny thing. First drive of the game, it's Nebraska's ball. They move right down the field. It looks smooth. Casey Thompson, transfer quarterback from Texas, looked awesome. I think if you took that drive by itself, you're like, you know what? Nebraska's winning 9 or 10 games this year. Yeah. And then they're up 11. And right as they score a touchdown to go up 11 points, they think to themselves, you know what would make this game better? What would give us a bigger advantage? What if we tried an inexplicable onside kick? Which, of course, they did not get close to recovering. Northwestern recovers it about midfield, drives like 3 plays, touchdown. Next drive, Nebraska, 3 and out. Northwestern, touchdown. And that's basically how the game ended. Northwestern wins 31-28. And it's the same story all over again. Nebraska with a double-digit lead, a one-possession game. They lose again. Johnny, what happens?
11 twice.
Yes, they were. Johnny, what happens from here? I mean, what happens now?
You're up 11 twice.
Like 3-25, went down by the half.
I mean, it's actually it's horrible.
You don't want to overreact. But
that's week 0. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Many people didn't think that Scott Frost was even going to get this year. Mm-hmm. With a new AD coming in, thinking the AD now has an out to say, he's not my guy, I didn't hire him. Here's an excuse. Now, Nebraska doesn't get a week off like Northwestern after Iowa. So, we'll dig into the game a little bit more as we go. But just talking about next steps, where are they going? They have to play North Dakota at home this Saturday. North Dakota is actually a pretty good FCS team.
At this point, nothing's a given.
There's no excuse to lose that game, of course. But you are coming all the way back from Ireland. The week is going to be strange, just in recovery, because for them, it's Central Time. It's an even bigger time adjustment from the East. That's just 1 more hour. I believe it's a 6-hour time difference.
I believe so.
That, they said the saying at least is it takes you a day per hour in time change to readjust. That's the entire week. So it's going to be interesting. That's a disheartening loss. You saw Casey Thompson when he threw that last pick, which he really didn't throw a pick. The wide receiver allowed an interception to happen. Just the body language. And that's something even with Scott Frost that I think has perpetuated this whole time. I don't think that's talked enough about. It's the leadership here. And leadership is, of course, not just words, but it's actions. His body language since the start of his tenure at Nebraska has been terrible. Anytime I see him on the field, he looks like he's waiting for all hell to break loose. Mm-hmm. And you can't have that. You look at great coaches. Think even in the conference. Mel Tucker's only been at Michigan State for 2 years. That man is even keel, no matter what is happening. You don't have to be that, but the opposite of that is you're emotionally positive the whole time. You can get angry and in people's face. Nick Saban does, but he's also very passionate and positively energetic too. That is both of those are your options. You have a million, those are your 2 options. One option is not to sit there and look devastated and kind of pout on the sideline. And he might not be doing that, but that's his appearance. That has to change. I think they'll beat North Dakota. They'll beat Georgia Southern. They have to beat Oklahoma now. Like, they have to beat Oklahoma now. Yeah. It's not a want, it's a need. Before, with their first, we'll just, they played Northwestern, they have North Dakota, Georgia Southern, Oklahoma, Indiana, Rutgers. It was a very manageable start to the season. And so you were thinking, oh, they go 5-1, you lose to Oklahoma.
You're right,
cool.
Big deal. Yep.
You have to beat Oklahoma now. You have to. You're at home. You need something to flip the script, to flip momentum on this season. They have to beat Oklahoma. Scott Frost has to save his job. I fully believe that.
Yes.
His buyout clause is cut in half, I believe, October 15th.
Correct. Ooh. And that was negotiated in the offseason. That was part of what is keeping Frost at Nebraska for this year. Yes.
And so win that Oklahoma game, it'll buy you time.
Yeah.
Lose that Oklahoma game, I don't know anymore. I don't know if he makes it the whole season. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Josh,
fair.
I don't know if... Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. I was going to say, at this point, like, I know we kind of joke about it. Not a ton, but, like, Nebraska can be a little bit more cowboy-esque at times with remembering the good old times of when they used to be dominant. But they have... in reality, they have a good, solid heritage. They have, like, some solid pedigree. And so, like, I have to kind of think, I'm like, what would happen if Ohio State hired Ryan Day, and Ryan Day went, like, again, it's like 3-30 when down at the, when down at the half. Yeah. And I'm like, we would have fired him much sooner. At the same time, Nebraska is better than this, and they have higher expectations than this. They're not necessarily trying to, relive glory days or anything like that, but they have reasonable expectations of building a program that is respectable and commendable. And so it's increasingly becoming clear that if Scott Frost can't get you there by the middle of October, he can't be your guy. Yeah. And their patience for him has been, in one sense, admirable, and in a larger sense, very foolish. I think Nebraska expects better and deserves better than to be the butt of, they're the best 3-9 team out there. Like, it's hilarious and it's funny, and it's not beholden to their level of, like, prestige within, like, the historical, like, college football scene.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. They have an outstanding fan base. Mm-hmm. They have the crowds in Ireland were insane. Boosters.
Yeah,
like, great. This is not. I don't want other programs to be catching strays right now, but it's not Florida State or Miami, where when their teams are bad, those stadiums are empty. Mm-hmm. Nebraska last year, the stadium was full every game still.
Yeah.
And, the joke, well, it's Nebraska. What else are they going to do? But they're passionate about their team. They don't deserve this. That's why we talk about it. We don't talk about Illinois going 3-9. They're not supported. They don't have the funding. They don't have there's no reason for this with Nebraska. Like, there's no reason. And now you look at their schedule and you're like, okay, like, they're winnable games, but now you're like 6-6 is about really as good as it looks like it might be. That's probably not good enough.
No.
To save Scott Frost.
Not in the least.
Josh, your point is really, really good. Because here's partly why they've hung on to him for so long. Because you go back to that 1995 championship team, and who is the quarterback? It's Scott Frost. He's supposed to be the chosen one for Nebraska. Yes. He was supposed to be the savior, and instead he's unfortunately burying them. The recruiting classes are getting worse. They went from like the 25th best recruiting class in 2020, and they're in the 40s in 2022. That part's getting worse. Obviously, it's going to when you go 3-9. Scott Frost had the audacity after the game to basically throw his offensive coordinator, which, by the way, he had to promote so someone else would call the plays instead of Scott Frost. He basically threw that person under the bus at the end
He threw
saying
Whipple under the bus.
Yeah, he did. He basically said, "Yeah, it just goes to show we need more offensive creativity that game." I'm like, I have never coached college football or any level of football in my entire life. I have, however, followed it for 20 years, and I'd like to think I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Scott Frost, you want to know what the issue is? The issue is you let Northwestern throw for 300 yards on you, with no disrespect to what Northwestern did, because I think they'll be much better than most people thought, because that's what Nebraska, that's what Northwestern and Pat. Yeah, you're right, Josh. That's what Pat Fitzgerald does, and Helinski might be a really good quarterback for them. Who knows? You let Northwestern made you look slow. Mm-hmm. Made you look slow. The back seven for the Cornhuskers, that was horrible. And I know it's week 0, and I know you have a chance to get better, and I know it's a weird game in Ireland, but Northwestern did the same usual Northwestern things. They dominated. They had 10 more minutes of time of possession. They dominated the style of play, and in some instances in that game, they actually took what Nebraska was trying to do and did it better than Nebraska did. So there's all kinds of problems. The onside kick goes without saying, and I think he was quoted as saying, "Yeah, if I look back, I probably don't do that again." And there's a couple of people defending him, and literally a couple saying hindsight. I'm like, no, it's not hindsight. Everyone, in the exact moment that onside kick happened, said that was dumb. And if you know what, if that onside kick happens and Nebraska recovers, I think what people's reaction to that is like, oh wow, it worked out, but that was an incredibly dumb move. It's a lose-lose. Right. It was unnecessary.
And paint the picture in the game. Nebraska's up 14-3 to start. They start sliding in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald goes for it on 4th and 1 from his own 36-yard line.
Yep.
Right before the half goes down. Northwestern takes the lead right before half, stealing the momentum. It's a killer blow. But I was really impressed. Nebraska came out, scores 14 points in that third quarter, seizes the game.
I thought it was over
back from
at that
them.
point.
They're
I truly
up
did.
28-17. You're like, okay, Nebraska actually took a punch and they punched back for once. Before the game was over and it was too late. And that's the moment he decided to kick the onside kick right after they scored that second touchdown and went up 28-17. You make that onside kick. If he does the onside kick, Aaron, to start off the second half, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. It's really, it is. I still don't love it, but I understand it at that point. Onside kicks are to help shift momentum into your favor.
Correct.
Not when you already have it. Not against a Pat Fitzgerald team, which you might be more athletic and faster than. You're not going to outthink them. You're not going to outthink them. You're not going to outcoach them. That game was a master class by Pat Fitzgerald, who everybody forgets about because he won't leave Northwestern. He is a brilliant tactician. He knows exactly what he's doing at every stage of the game. That's why Northwestern still makes the Big Ten title game every even year, because it's coaching. It is coaching. And the fact that he turns out first-round picks from Northwestern he's phenomenal. He's such a great coach.
Yep.
And just want to say that, we're going to talk about Nebraska a lot, but hats off to Pat Fitzgerald and Helinski and the defense finding ways to make enough plays. Well done. Great win. I hope they're enjoying their week in Ireland because they have their bye week right now. So that great.
And by the way,
Northwestern
is able to schedule when their bye week is. So is Nebraska. No one forced Nebraska's hand and say, hey, well, someone in the athletic department did, but no one forced anybody in the athletic department to say, hey, you guys need to play a game when you come back. I know they're playing in FCS North Dakota, but Jonny, to your point, and I know you're exactly right. I think they have to beat Oklahoma because if they lose, because you're in a lose-lose situation now if you're Nebraska. If you get blown out, it's bad because you're not even competing with one of your former rivals in a game that you competed with and almost won last year. And that's part of what stings this year. They killed Northwestern last year. It was their only Big Ten game that they won, and they lost. And now you're looking
what gave them the positive point differential.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're looking at the schedule, and there's not a single Big Ten team on that schedule that I look at and say, they can't lose that game. Now, again, we're overreacting a little bit, but partly because this narrative has already been written. I mean, yes, there is another world out there where Nebraska recovers and runs and goes like 10-2, and we forget about what happened on week 0. Now, that universe is very, 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 very far away. It does exist, but only in just the deepest depths of our imagination. Because I don't think we're talking reality when we're talking about a 10-2 Nebraska, not with what we saw. Because you're right, Nebraska should have been more athletic and should have been faster than Northwestern. What I saw with my eyeballs, they were not. They were not. So we'll see. They'll get better, but it may be because Frost is out of there first. We'll see. And don't write off North Dakota. I know they're an FCS team. Don't write them off. Don't write off Georgia Southern. They'll be down, but they've got Clay Helton as their head coach. Who knows? I'm not putting anything past Nebraska at this point. I truly am not. I think we could talk about this forever, and I know it has been talked about forever, so we'll move on, but we did want to open up the show with some just crazy college football. I guess before we move on, we are picking our NFL division winners this week. Excited to get into that, but was there any other like week 0 things that jump out to you? I think the only other thing I would say is Vanderbilt. Congrats to them. Like, they've had just a horrible like few years. I don't believe they've won an SEC game since 2019. They've won like 3 games since then. But they went to Hawaii, which is a tough place to play. You talk about time change. And Hawaii's down this year. They lost just basically their entire team with the transfer portal. But they beat Hawaii 63-10. Like, you're talking about one of the best Vanderbilt victories in a while. So good for them. I hope that helps them build some momentum. The new logo is still stupid, but look, it got them a win. So good for Vandy.
That win cost them everything with the logo. Cost them everything. Yeah, everything. I mean, Vandy, fantastic. Well done. UConn, I thought UConn was game for Utah State. Yeah. They're up 14-0 in that game. So it's week 0. Sometimes don't take a lot of stock in how close some of these games are. Some of the bad teams don't know they're bad yet. That's something you have to remember with the first 3 weeks of the season. Yep. Bad teams don't know they're bad yet, which is great because that makes the games closer and they're better, even if you're playing the worst team in the conference. But don't take a lot of stock in, oh man, they were so close, they almost won. It doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't mean much. When Florida State, I think, barely lost to Clemson or Notre Dame, I can't remember who it was last year, early. Yep. And then they play Jacksonville State the next week and lose at home. So, after that, everyone's like, oh, man, Florida State's actually probably pretty good. They were so close. And there you go. Yeah. So don't take too much stock in margins in the early season. The good teams are still figuring things out, and the bad teams don't know they're bad yet. They're still a little just ignorant to that yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. Last note to kind of transition us from Nebraska to the NFL, and I'll leave it at this. This is courtesy of @SlaterKinnick_ on Twitter. Scott Frost has won 15 games in 5 years with Nebraska. Oh. His lone win against a team that finished above 500 came against Michigan State in 2018. They were 7-6 that year. Nebraska kicked 3 fourth-quarter field goals to beat the Spartans 9-6. That is his only win against against team 500 or above. I mean, Josh, you said it, like whatever his record is, like losing in the second half. For one, it's bad because of how few games he's come back and won. The second, it's just bad of how many games they've been down to start the second half. I mean, it's so bad.
It's one thing to be a slow team.
Always have to come back.
We've criticize Ohio State for being a little bit more of a second half team at times. Yeah. But guess what? Oof. We make it to the national championship every now and then. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to like slam dunk on Nebraska and it's fun, but you're right that there are just so many like diehard fans that are just devastated, and I truly feel for them because I really didn't want this. Like, I didn't want Northwestern to lose either, but I didn't want this to happen to Nebraska. It's better for college football and for the Big Ten if Nebraska's not 3-9 again. But here we are.
I guarantee you, we would not be able to do this podcast if Ryan Day had won 15 games in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. We probably don't even bother.
With almost half of them coming in one season.
I'd be wandering out in the woods by myself, just aimless.
Oh, my. All right. Well, let's roll into the NFL. I know we haven't really touched on it a lot, but we will give you guys some NFL previews coming up. Again, we're basically like a week and a half. By the time this episode comes out, we'll basically be a week away from the NFL kicking off. Should be exciting. I know as we're recording, it's kind of the Monday of all the cuts that you see from all the preseason games wrapping up. But for tonight, we're going to give you our division winners. We did that last week. We did not do that last week. We did that last year, and I think we did like relatively okay. Like we had some lows, we had some highs. Like Josh, you picking the Patriots. They didn't win the division, but they got to the playoffs. That was a little sneaky pick, Josh. So well done. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll just roll through it. And I will say, looking at this list, we do have some similarities. That's not super surprising. But right off the top, we'll kind of go around for each one. But the AFC East, I don't think there's any reason to actually like discuss. Yeah. It's Buffalo, and I think it's pretty easily Buffalo. And that's what the three of us have just to start off. Just to kick things off.
Anyone else you guys think makes the playoffs out of the East?
Man, Mac Jones wasn't looking too hot the other day, and so I'm not entirely as hot on them this year. So, goodness, I'm trying to think.
I think you don't like Matt, I would even think Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as the offensive. They're not coordinators. I shouldn't call them offensive coordinators, but they are calling the plays on offense. So, no, I think New England's like 7 and 10.
Yeah,
like I really think so.
Yeah,
the Jets are too young. Miami's the only team that I think is the only reason people put New England there is just because Bill might somehow work some magic, but you still have to have ingredients for a magic spell or potion, and there's no ingredients.
Yeah,
it's just thin air. So
only Tom Brady does that. So
Miami's the only team that I think has any potential of making the playoffs out of there besides the Bills. It's all about Tua. So I don't know. I think they're probably 9-8. They're probably the first team out is my guess, but yeah.
They say Tua is accurate. It's true, but I could be accurate if I threw 3-yard passes every day. So we'll see if Tyreek Hill really, if kind of that stretches out their passing game. It'll be interesting. All right, a division of interest for us personally, some rooting interest, the AFC North. I'll start. I've got the Ravens. I think they have an opportunity to have a really good year. They were just decimated by injuries, and I know every team deals with injuries, but when you're walking into training camp and 2 of your running backs go down within like the first 2 weeks, you're not going to be set up well for success. This is kind of the proving year for Lamar Jackson, right? He's kind of betting on himself as far as the contract situation, it appears. So I think Jackson's going to be great. I hope he is. I love Lamar. He kind of needs to return to form a little bit from that MVP when he was, just 22 years old. He's still ridiculously young. I'm interested to see he gained 20 pounds of muscle. Will that help him stay on the field versus will that slow him down at all as fast and as quick and athletic as he is? We're about to find out, but I think the Ravens are going to do it. Probably, I'm thinking 11-6, nothing crazy, but I've got Ravens winning that division.
Yeah, I think a real tight division race between the Bengals and Ravens. I actually have the Ravens winning the division, and it's all because of scheduling. Going along the same lines of Aaron, the Ravens did great last year until Lamar got hurt. Despite all the injuries at corner, despite all the injuries at running back. And so I expect Cincinnati and Baltimore both to make the playoffs for sure. I have them both locked in. It's really a matter of who wins the division, who's a wild card. I think Baltimore probably gets it by a tiebreaker, by a game. I think it's real tight. 11-6, 10-7 sounds real close. Good to me, Aaron. It's a great division where Baltimore and Cincinnati will lose games to Pittsburgh and Cleveland too. So it won't be a pretty record, but I do have Baltimore because they have a last place schedule. Cincinnati has a first place schedule. I think that's enough of a difference in a very tight race.
Josh, you've got something different.
Yeah, I decided to... Because, you're right, it's going to be a tiebreaker, essentially. Looking at scheduling, my guess, honestly, I'm just picking Bengals for this one.
Nice.
I think the O-line choices, I think the offseason moves that they made, I think those will pay off. And again, I'm not, as a Steelers homer, I'm not convinced that Kenny Pickett's the answer this season. And I definitely know that. I see I've already actively forgotten his name. I don't even need to bring it up. He's going to be. It's just left my mind. It's honestly,
memory.
It's not even worth it to remember his name at this point. But,
trying to speak it into existence with Kenny.
It's just going to be Kenny. It's just going to be Kenny.
Only Kenny.
I think Pittsburgh hits
honestly,
500
even the name
again.
Mitch. No, I was going to say they're going to be better than people think. I think this
so
is
too.
not it's going to be a rebuilding year, but it's still going to be. Listen, we're going to have our quarterback for the first 11 games, so we're at least going to be okay.
Yeah.
So no, I'm thinking that generally there is an expected drop after going to a championship. We've seen this with a lot of good championship teams. Like, so sorry, I am losing this one.
Oh, you're good. I mean, we can just like segue to
you're
you.
good.
Like, I feel like you got.
I was gonna say, with the Bengals at this point, it is essentially, like you said, just almost a toss up. And so to be different, to maybe one of these days, I'm just gonna have to pick a hot take. I might edit one of my future picks just so we can start yelling at each other. But
amazing.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals this time. I think those offseason moves, I think those are gonna pay off overall. So
yeah, I do too.
I like Joe Cool.
Yep. It's hard to argue with that. We do not have any arguments on the AFC South, which is interesting because we're all picking the Colts. And I know that's probably everyone's favorite because I think everyone's expecting the Titans to take a step back. I know we don't need to take a deep dive into this because we all have the same thing. I think we all expect Matt Ryan to just do enough with a really good defense, obviously a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. I worry about Tennessee because I worry that Derrick Henry is not going to be healthy this year. He missed a bunch of games last year, and it was a stress injury. That worries me. It's not like it's a broken leg. Not that you want that either. But it's a little. Well, I mean, it kind of was. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
And who is Ryan Tannehill throwing it to now?
You're right.
Like he has Treylon Burks, who they just drafted out of Arkansas.
And I've heard mixed reviews on him. I hope he's great. I've heard mixed reviews.
Also though, that's a lot to put on a rookie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You know, most of the time, you see Jamar Chase pop off. You saw Jefferson pop off the year before. In both of those situations, Jefferson had Thielen as well, though, and a strong running game. And like Chase had T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon. Like it wasn't all on that player. So it will be interesting. Treylon Burks kind of being the key wide receiver, really, in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like, and it's Jacksonville can't be worse than they were a year ago. So they're going to be more competitive in that division, not playoffs. I think Indy's the only team who makes the playoff in that division.
That could be.
I think they have a chance to be the 1 or 2 seed because they're in the AFC South. It's not about Tennessee got the 1 seed last year, and no one would have said that they were the best team in the AFC, really, even with a healthy Derrick Henry. So I think they'll probably have a really high seed just playing in that division as well.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. The interesting thing about Burks is he's like a little bigger too, so I feel like he doesn't quite fit the mold of a Chase of Jefferson who can burn you down the field. Not that Burks can't, but he's not quite that style of wide receiver, so that'll be interesting. All right, moving on to the AFC West, which I think our picks kind of demonstrate what kind of division the AFC West is going to be like this year. I'll start. I've said for a few weeks, and I'm sticking to it, I think the Las Vegas Raiders are going to have a really good year. I've got them in my AFC Championship game, guys. I know I'm crazy, but I'm picking. That's my hot take. Raiders to the AFC Championship game against the Bills, which we'll officially make some of those picks next week. But because of that, I think Johnny, you're shaking your head. Someone's got to win that division, man. I'm just picking the Raiders. I like Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. He's the best wide receiver in the league.
Yell.
So I'm going, and they've got a good defense, a good tight end, good running back. They're set.
Yeah. Fair enough. No,
don't say fair enough. Yell at him. Insult him.
Have a good
it's
pass
good
rush.
radio.
Yes, they do.
And they have a good pass rush.
Yep.
With
Crosby and
Crosby and Chandler Jones.
Yep.
They also have the worst secondary in the division. With
don't need
Justin
it if your quarterback's on the ground.
It is a horrible secondary. And you're in the division with Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert and obviously Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes. You know, yes, if you get pressure on the quarterback, great, but you're not going to every single game. So there will be games where I think that secondary just gets absolutely exposed. It's going to be a great race.
Yeah.
It's easily the most fascinating division. It's 4 teams that if they were in any other division, you're like in the playoffs, check. Like it's not like impossible all 4 of them make it. Highly unlikely just because of how many times you have to play each other, and they'd almost have to sweep their opponents out of division. Don't expect that. I expect 3 teams to make the playoffs out of this division, though. If I had to pick a team to not make it, it's probably the Chargers. Yeah. Even though I would probably say the Chargers have the 5th or 6th best overall roster in the entire league, I don't trust them. Chargers. But I'm going to have the Denver Broncos winning the division. I really love Russell Wilson. I know you guys aren't the same about him, but he carried Seattle those last 3 or 4 years on offense and really in general. That defense was falling apart. The offensive line was awful. Pete Carroll's play calling and the offensive coordinators just run. Russ would only have like 15 passing attempts going into the 4th quarter, and then they're like, hey, save us. And he would somehow. And they'd go 11-5, 12-4 before last year when he broke his finger, which is kind of like, that's not really an injury concern to me. You know, when you tear your ACL or your Achilles or you break something more significant, you know, breaking a finger, you know, I just broke my finger, but like, and it affects you for sure, but that's not something that I'm like lingering issue coming into the season. I think he has great leadership. That Denver team's winning 7 games every year with Drew Lock as their quarterback. You know, I expect them to be able to find a way to win some of those tight games that Russell Wilson has that potential to do so. I think it'll be a great race. I definitely have Russell and Denver winning that division. I think they'll do well in the playoffs as well.
I like it. Jonny, to your point, the NFL came out with their top 100 players. You know which team has the most top 100 players? It's the Chargers with 8. And I agree, and you'll hear it here in a minute. We don't have the Chargers. The 3 of us do not have the Chargers winning the division because, Josh, who do you have winning the AFC West?
Listen, and here's the thing. I really do think it's all going to be separated by like a game or 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Division, truly. Like I have Kansas City again just to be different, but also like you're right. I do like Russell Westbrook. I think it's going to be. I think they're number 2, if not tied, and it's another coin flip.
Yeah.
But I know that Mahomes had a pretty rough stretch there in the middle of last season, but it looks like he rebounded really nicely.
Well, and Josh,
frank,
his
getting
Go ahead.
Banning his brother from doing anything else, I think helps.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen, I do not mean to be mean to anyone except for him, and so, but he's one of my few blocks on TikTok.
Well done.
Not even once, guys. Yeah. No, like I said, it's going to be a toss-up. And honestly, Russell could absolutely. I keep saying Westbrook. I keep saying Russell Westbrook in my mind. It is Wilson. It is Wilson.
There you go.
I do not know why I cannot have more than one Russell in my mind.
No, that's it. Just one.
Just one. So anytime you hear Westbrook, just assume I mean that guy. Kid from Up. But
well, Josh, to your point, Patrick Mahomes, he did have, by his standards and maybe everyone's standards, a rough middle part of the year. But then he turned it on, and look where the Chiefs ended up. They still ended up in the AFC Championship game.
I was going to say, they ended up being overall fine. Yeah. He turned it on when it needed to be turned on. And so I think Wilson could really turn it on and, like, go off. And, like, I could be very wrong. But as it stands now, like, I think Mahomes has – I mean, he's done it before. Yep. He almost did it again after a rough season. I think there's nothing crazy about calling him to win the division.
No, that'd be my pick if I didn't pick the Raiders.
My major concern with the Chiefs is actually not Patrick Mahomes. It's that Mahomes' contract is starting to actually put pressure on their cap this year. Tyrann Mathieu on the back end of the defense.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than just a playmaker back there. He's really the leader, the signal caller, running the show. What does that look like? You know, we've had moments, especially early in the season, where the Chiefs defense is like historically bad. And the question always gets asked, like, man, can they put together the defense in time for like a playoff run? And they always do.
Yeah.
But Tyrann Mathieu is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
He's on the Saints now. He's a cap casualty. What does that look like? So I think that was my big hang up. Not a concern about Patrick Mahomes, but what does that back end look like without Tyrann Mathieu?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, I like it. That'll be fascinating. I love the fact that we kind of each have a dog in the race for the AFC West. I think that'll be fascinating as we go. So I'm excited about that. The NFC East. Sorry. Yeah. Jonny and I, we both
pronounced the East.
Jonny and I both have the Eagles, so nothing too crazy there. We kind of just expect a repeat from last year. Josh, I got to ask you though. I noticed you don't happen to have the Eagles on your list.
I don't. And listen, here's the thing.
Johnny's gonna kill you.
I can call Dallas to win the division.
Yeah.
And I can still claim that they're not back.
Okay, I respect it.
I can hold two things.
Yeah.
In tandem. Listen, again, I think it's going to be close. I think the Eagles are going to be right behind them.
They'll both be 7-9 going into.
No, exactly. They're always going to be like 10-8. It's great. 10-7. It's going to be fantastic. It's not going to be. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to be good, but again, like you said, in the other way, like someone's got to win the division, Aaron.
Right.
Someone's got to win this one.
Yeah, you're right.
And so someone's going to stumble across enough wins to technically clinch. And so,
can we at least agree this is a one playoff team division?
Oh yeah,
do we feel that way?
Do
we all feel that way? Do we agree?
Getting slapped in the.
I actually, this is probably my hot take.
Okay.
I think the Eagles have a chance for the 1 seed in the NFC.
Oh, interesting, because they're that much.
The NFC's terrible. That division is terrible.
Yeah.
I think the Cowboys take 2 or 3 steps back.
Wow.
They didn't improve their team at all in the offseason. They only lost pieces. They lost in pass rushing.
You can't improve upon mediocrity.
They lost in the wide receiver room. They're getting hurt on the offensive line.
Yeah.
You have Mike McCarthy as your head coach. Like,
does he survive the year?
No. He'll finish the season.
Okay.
Because Jerry doesn't fire in the middle of the season.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good to do, a mid-season.
Won't do it in the middle of the season.
Right.
I think the Eagles, again, NFC's really bad. It's not me saying that the Eagles, I think that are even necessarily a top 5 team. I think they could be a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC because the conference is down. That division is down. They don't have a first place schedule. I like that they went and got A.J. Brown. They have Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts is self-aware with his limitations and what he's good at, but he's a leader and workaholic. The defense is good and the offensive line stout. I like the team actually a lot. I think they go like 12-5. I think they have a great record this year.
Okay.
All right. Very good. That takes us to the NFC North. Josh and I both have the Packers, and Josh, for me, it's just a thing. I know the Packers lost a lot. They're not going to have the kind of weapons. I think there's a lot of question marks. And as much as I'm willing to criticize, and I think he deserves it, Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, he just gets it done in the regular season. So until I see differently, I'm picking the Packers. So that's where I came.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Bro's going to collapse as soon as the playoffs happen, but like he has the regular season figured out. I was trying to make a good case. I think Vikings will be decent.
Yeah.
Being fun and
there will not be another team other than the Vikings.
No, I was going to say, the Bears are going to have a really. No, they're not. Stop it.
Yeah.
At us, Bears fans.
Yeah.
But
Jonny, let's hear it because we know you disagree.
Tell us.
I was a year off, I think, on my take on Green Bay, where I thought that they were going to drop off just because of the level of drama going into last season with Green Bay. And while it hasn't been quite as noisy of an offseason, just because clearly Jordan Love's not the answer, it's not even a thought at this point. And Aaron signing that contract extension at least alleviates some of the pressure. But who's he throwing it to, man? And not even that. Does my bigger question is, does Aaron trust any of them?
Yeah.
Like, the man clearly has some trust issues. Now, Green Bay's defense is going to be outstanding. I have no worries about that. I think Minnesota has the best offense in the division, though, which I know, like, it's Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, but look at Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, like Jefferson. They have a solid offensive line. Like, I trust that. I think that offense, the sum of the parts are better. Aaron has to figure out life without Devontae Adams. Does he trust anyone other than Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard, who like love the guys, but how many games are they even going to play? When's the last time those guys played a full season?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Minnesota in this division. I think they're going to get some bounce back momentum. It's not another not great division. Although I think the Lions, Aaron, you might want to talk about the Lions a little bit. I think they're going to be better.
Yes.
I think they're going to be better than last year, record wise and on the field. The Bears are trying to murder Justin Fields.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I have Minnesota. I don't think it's a runaway by any stretch of the imagination, but I have the Vikings.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the Lions. I don't think they're to the point where they're competing for a division at all, but at 6 or 7 wins, I think that's good. They've got some draft capital to play around with next year. Is that when they make a move for quarterback? I think that'll be interesting. They do have the Rams first round pick like they did last year, so that'll be interesting as we go, depending on where those draft spots end up. Because again, the draft will continue to be the Lions Super Bowl until further notice. But it'll be interesting to see where they finish. Where do the Rams finish? Can they take those 2 picks along with whatever else and slide, second, third, fourth pick in the draft next year? Is that when they pick up a Bryce Young? Is that when they pick up a CJ Stroud? Who knows? Devin Leary might be the best quarterback in the draft after he gets done throttling Clemson this year. Can't wait for that. So,
amen.
I kid because I've got Clemson winning the ACC. But anyways, all right, NFC South. Jonny, we both have the Saints, which is fun. The more and more I just and I sound hypocritical, right? Because I picked basically the Packers because I said until Aaron Rodgers shows me otherwise, and that's because that's probably the take I should have on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But at some point, I know we're talking about the greatest of all time. At some point, a 46-year-old, someone's going to stop him from winning a division title. Theoretically. The Saints are capable of doing so. And that's why I have. Jameis Winston had a great first half until he was injured. He was great, like MVP caliber kind of quarterback play out of Jameis Winston, which I know is crazy. But that's what it was. And if he's healthy, he's got great weapons. In fact, his weapons should actually be far better this year, assuming they have a little bit more health. Again, a fantastic defense, potentially one of the maybe the best defense in the NFL. I think they do fine. I think they'll figure it out. And Tampa Bay, it's more than Tom Brady. It's offensive line concerns. It's weapons concerns outside of Mike Evans. There's cap hit issues going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. I've got the Saints, and I feel actually pretty good about that.
Aaron, like, we're talking like great weapons now. Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas. All reports say he's fully recovered.
Yeah.
He had an entire
Kamara
season
at some
to
point.
get right.
Yep.
You have Chris Olave, who you just got. You have Alvin Kamara. I believe the Saints have beaten the Buccaneers the last 4 times as well. Even the last year with Drew Brees, the only time the Buccaneers beat them was in the playoffs. They won both regular season matchups. They know how to do it. Dennis Allen's the head coach, who was the defensive coordinator.
Yep.
The defense will not change. The offense should be improved just by health and additions. Losing Sean Payton's not helpful. But it's almost more of a concern out of Tampa Bay. The offensive line. I actually think Tom had a great year last year. He might honestly be capable of having a fantastic year again. But the interior of the offensive line is decimated by injuries right now. It's starting centers out for the year. They lost both of their guards, one to retirement, one to the Bengals in the offseason. They did get Shaq Lawson from the Patriots, but there's also other injury concerns with Wirfs and other guys on that offensive line. Tom's not mobile, and he's 46 now, Aaron, 45 or 46.
So. Yeah.
He'll be 46 in just a sec.
He can't run away from the pressure, especially interior pressure. What does that look like with a defensive tackle like Aaron Donald or the defensive tackles San Francisco can throw at you or Green Bay? He can't get away from them. New Orleans is going to eat him alive. at the offensive line. So it's almost like more of a concern for what's the chaos occurring around Tom than Tom himself. But that's why I have to go with the Saints. The Saints have had a great offseason, good draft. Like, hey, I think Jameis could do it this year. I think it'd be a really great, fun story too.
Yeah. Josh, you're riding with Tom Brady though, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Bro just left for 11 days. Came back like today.
Yep.
And so that's been the big news in Tampa Bay. And he's like,
We were
"Oh,
on the
it's
same
personal."
trip together.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably just ran into him.
Tom was with me.
Aw. You probably loved Arkansas.
That's so sweet. But yeah, I right now, and again, y'all's points are very. I'm going against my own thing. I want to yell and be like, "Dumb, dumb, dumb! You guys are dumb." We got to find a way to disagree sharply on something and make it good and make a good podcast material at some point. That's all my TikTok feed is like just little clips of like. There's a podcast literally of just two guys who will pick opposite ends of like a preference, like is a hot dog a sandwich or not, and they'll pick opposite sides and then they will scream at each other like
Josh, you know what you're describing?
Stuff.
First Take on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith.
Yes, and I realize that we don't want to be a direct copy of them. However, they are making a lot more money than us. So
the show on the boat was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what we're missing. Honestly, we just need the boat guys.
If you're gonna return,
it's not us.
If you're gonna return on a boat like that, that was awesome.
On a boat.
That was pretty cool.
And a cowboy hats.
Yeah. They were driving around on the boat while he was making his picks and screaming. It was pretty awesome.
It was. Listen, that's. You know what? And you know what? You do that, you're gonna get a million views no matter who you are. So like,
true.
Darn right about that.
But I'm going Tom Brady at this point. Like, there is so much. Gosh, he's 46. He just turned 46 August 3rd. So like, barely a month into this, he looks younger, and I am scared of him. Honestly,
agreed.
I am scared of him.
Yes.
So. You are right that he's going to get pummeled. He's probably not even going to fall down at this point. This guy looks scary. So
you're right.
They're going to try and be like, and also listen. He's going to get so many roughing the passer calls called on like for him. So he's going to be fine. He'll get two sacks and then like 3 targeting calls out of that, and it's going to be just fine, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah. And now I hope obviously he didn't leave for like something that was like actually like a really big deal going on.
No.
I hope it was insignificant.
Like personal,
but just the wild speculation of what he was gone doing just killed me.
Oh my gosh, that was
on
so
Twitter
funny
today. Hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Again,
he's
obviously we're joking, assuming
it's
not serious, and I don't think it is. But anyways,
he's retiring.
Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly.
He actually loves his kids. No, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The last division we have is the NFC West, and that's also a fantastic division. I am picking the 49ers. Now, I picked the 49ers before I found out, and I don't think it changes my pick, but the 49ers are bringing back Jimmy G for a year, which they just figured out his contract is a 1-year thing. Interestingly enough, there's a no trade clause in there. It doesn't mean he can't be traded, but just means that he can tell the team whether he wants to be traded or not. I thought that was interesting. But I thought it was interesting because Trey Lance is going to be the starter. But to me, this seemed like an insurance policy that, hey, maybe Lance isn't actually ready, which is a little concerning. Now, there's so many strengths on the rest of this team that I think the 49ers will find a way. They were relatively close last year, and I think the Rams are going to take a slight step back, perhaps. Not majorly, but enough that the 49ers can sneak in and win that division. So this is the one I probably feel least confident about, but I am going Niners.
I feel good, actually, about the Rams. I do think there's a Super Bowl hangover. It's more questions, what you said, Aaron, about Trey Lance. Like, I just haven't seen it yet. So I very well could be wrong. But I believe Aaron Donald. I believe in the Rams. I actually think Matthew Stafford might be even better this year. Yeah. They do have Robinson being added into the wide receiver core there. I like the Rams to repeat in the division. I think they will have another great year. They might drop off this year. I don't expect them to get back to the Super Bowl. But Seattle's going to be even worse this year. They're going to be really, really bad.
I think the Cardinals are worse too, probably.
Cardinals had a weird offseason.
No,
It'll
Kyler's
be
been studying up,
interesting to
guys.
see what that looks like. He's been
He's been
calling
watching his
plays all
tape like a-
preseason.
Yeah, that's true.
He's been doing all those good quarterback things. He's going to
Yep.
be just fine. He's learning all about what it means to be a quarterback.
Aw.
You
But Josh,
throw the ball,
you're
and
with me
sometimes
too.
you run the ball, and oh boy, no. And I'm with you. I think at this point, staying with what I know works. Again, you got that Super Bowl.
Yep.
You have that year after Super Bowl hangover, that drop off a little bit, but I still think that I don't see anything that makes me less confident in their ability to keep that division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. There's our rundown. Just a quick recap because I know we've been talking about this for a while. AFC East, unanimous, Buffalo. AFC North, me and Jonny, Baltimore, Josh, Cincinnati. AFC South, Indianapolis, unanimous. AFC West, I've got the Las Vegas Raiders, Jonny with the Denver Broncos, Josh with the Kansas City Chiefs. NFC East, Philadelphia for myself and Jonny, Josh repping the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go. NFC North, myself and Josh Green Bay, Jonny going with the Vikings. NFC South, myself and Jonny with the New Orleans Saints, Josh with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then Josh and Jonny together with the Rams. And I'm the lone wolf on taking the 49ers. So that's a rundown of divisions. We'll see how we do. I feel like we did fairly well last year. So we'll see if we can keep that rolling. Speaking of doing well in picks, Josh, would you like to take us into our picks of the week? I feel like you deserve it because of your pick last week.
I would. Guys, as a joke, last week we picked the famous week 0 Ireland's Nebraska Northwestern. You already heard us talk about this at the top of the hour, unless like you are one of those listeners who skip everything and go straight to this, which is, again, we get it.
Yeah.
So I picked Northwestern to win as a joke because there was no way that that Nebraska would go into yet another 3-9 season because that's not, and lose by barely a possession.
Yes.
Again, like they always do. Guys, this is not, it's lazy writing. That's if this was a TV show, this would be called lazy writing at the beginning of the season too. But they did it.
Yep.
And the fact that they did the classic Nebraska thing and lost by under a possession.
Yeah.
And did an onside. We love it. We love it so much in that we don't. However, what that does is that actually does get me a point because I picked the dumb pick. So I am now sitting at 38 points, nice in the middle. Aaron's one above me at 39. And Jonny is 2 behind me, 3 behind Aaron at 36.
Okay.
Now, this week, and I'm going to stall because I forgot to put my pick in.
Oh, you're good. I can take it from here if you need.
There we go.
Pick in. Oh, you
normally, yeah, I got it. I don't know if that's even possible, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's technically possible. Anything's possible if you believe.
That's right.
That's a Disney movie. We are now going to pick the Ohio State, the Notre Dame at Ohio State week 1 game. Should be a fun one. It's prime time. We're as close to prime time as Ohio Stadium will allow itself to go.
Yep.
Got to use those lights somehow. But we are all picking Ohio State to win. Spoiler alert. However, we are going to go with the score as the potential tiebreaker, or you're going to see us come real sad next week. But again,
yeah,
we all lose a point.
Agreed.
We all lose a point.
Whenever it's unanimous, we should all.
Whenever it's unanimous, we lose a point. Exactly.
Yep.
So I'm picking 42-30 Ohio State. I probably am giving Notre Dame maybe too much credit on their offensive side since they're under a new coach, and Ohio State really did take some time over the offseason to shore up the defensive side of things, new defensive coordinator, and all of that. However, I'm going 42-30 Ohio State. There's still going to be some first game jitters, most likely. This is a big first game.
Yeah.
All the key people are coming back. However, I'll do a gimme touchdown and a field goal that shouldn't have happened to get Notre Dame up to 30, but we're still taking 42-30.
All right. I like it. Josh, you're right. New defensive coordinator for Ohio State, Jim Knowles, one of the most important, obviously as a Buckeye, I'm saying this, but just in terms of the general college football landscape, one of the most important hires this season. I have Ohio State winning 35-21. I think the defense will be better. I think it may take some time. Like, don't be surprised if Notre Dame moves the ball well. I know they have kind of a new starting quarterback in Taylor Buckner. I know he saw some time last year, but he was named the starter recently for Marcus Freeman's Fighting Irish. But I think 35-21. The line is like 17 points, which almost seems disrespectful to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a good team. They play a tough schedule, so I think they probably end up 9-3, 10-2. But Notre Dame's good, and Marcus Freeman's going to have them ready. He played at Ohio State. So I think this could be a closer game than some people are saying. Honestly, to me, 35-21, I think it's going to be closer than that. I think Ohio State just kind of gets a garbage touchdown at the end. But I think you're talking about a one-possession game for most of this game.
I just don't believe that Notre Dame's going to be able to keep up with the Ohio State offense. I bet this is a one-score game at half.
Yeah.
It could even be within like 3 points. Wouldn't shock me. I think it's too much. I think Notre Dame's defense ends up on the field too much. Now, they do have some solid weapons. I think they honestly, with Mayer, might have the best tight end between him and Bowser over at Georgia. Those are probably the two best tight ends in the country. If you watched Mayer at all last year, I mean, he just popped off the screen at Notre Dame. Jack Cohn absolutely loved him. I expect nothing less. I'm sure Ohio State has been planning for him all offseason. Too much. There's too much here on the Ohio State offense, really, for Notre Dame to be able to overcome that. If Ohio State's defense has improved at all, I just don't see a path to victory for Notre Dame. If the defense looks similar to last year and has the exact same problems, even with Notre Dame having a very young, inexperienced quarterback, they have a chance. It's really all about that Ohio State defense. If that defense comes to play, the crowd is going to get into it.
Yeah.
Crowds at Ohio State are used to that noon kick. It doesn't need to be a night game for them to be into it. If the defense comes to play, the crowd will be even more electric. So I think it's really even the momentum, the feel of the game's going to all be about that defense. That's all we've talked about really all offseason. I think that determines the game. Anyway, I have 41-24 Ohio State. We have fairly similar scores. I just don't see Notre Dame getting above that. I don't see Ohio State really scoring less than 40 points, win or lose, truthfully.
That's probably where my pick is going to be wrong, but that's okay. Jonny, you're right about the crowd. It happens to be the 100th anniversary of Ohio Stadium. They are recognizing the 2002 national championship team. So I think there's other circumstances outside of just having Ohio State, Notre Dame, top 5 matches to begin the year. That stadium will be rocking, so that should be good. But you're right. Good test for the Ohio State linebackers facing the best tight end in the nation. Like, goodness, that was the weakness last year. We're going to find quickly if that has been solved or not. All right. We'll report back. We'll either be happy or sad, and really no in between whatsoever. So
no in between.
No in between.
All right.
We're either going to be just like celebratory, like popping bottles,
annoying.
Or we will
obnoxious.
Just each spend 10 minutes crying.
Yes. Agreed.
No words. Just
no
tears.
words, just tears.
That'll be the title of the podcast episode. No words, just tears.
Whoops. All pain.
All pain.
It does kind of transition us into what we're following, because I've got a couple quick things. The first is, I'm sure there's people out there that really enjoy Jack Harlow. I personally never listened to any of his music. I know he's like popular, whatever, but Game Day picked him to be the guest picker. It's, if you didn't know, Game Day in Columbus for that Ohio State Notre Dame game. There's so many other options they had, and I was looking through, because obviously I got sucked into Twitter on this, because I was like, that's kind of gross. Like, you could have had Jim Tressel. You could have had really any. I mean, you are celebrating 20 years since that miraculous 2002 Ohio State championship. Honestly, any of those players would be fine. There's numerous other people, apparently, and I apologize, I should have had this ready, but the actor that played J. Jonah Jameson from Ohio, like big Ohio State fan. Like, what are we doing here?
That would have been
J.K. Simmons is a massive.
Yeah, some people said like you should literally have J.K. Simmons come in as J. Jonah Jameson, like not even as himself.
Correct.
Like come in as the character and play it up somehow. I'm like, are you kidding? Like people would have tuned in for that.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's what it's all about. I mean, it's just for ratings to try to get in some random people who never will watch game day anyway.
Right.
Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. You know, I sound like I'm a 50-year-old man screaming at a cloud, but guys, they're not going to watch game day anyway. Like they're not. No. So stick to your base here. Like it's not going to happen. Nobody like, I'm sorry. I don't really care for Jack Harlow's music.
Yeah.
I don't know him obviously as a person. Not interested at all. Honestly, that's probably going to be, probably going to turn over to Big Noon Kickoff like while that's going on if I don't watch Big Noon Kickoff the whole time, honestly. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But you're right, like there were so many options and it doesn't have to be Archie Griffin. Like no. I get it. Like
I think that's even been done before. So
it has many times, I think, with him and Eddie. So I get it, but there's like what you said, Aaron, the whole 2002 national championship team is there. It's 100 years at the Horseshoe.
Yeah.
It should be an actual Buckeye there.
Yeah.
Like that. That is frustrating.
Yeah.
I would have rather had a Notre Dame guy. That doesn't make sense. But I would have rather because I would have been like, well, okay, you know, like it's we're all high. Like Jack Harlow's from Louisville. It has no like there's no affiliation. And it was pretty like unanimous, like, why?
Right.
Why?
Like nobody wants this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't complain because Ohio State gets game day like every year, and I've had so many opportunities to go. But the guest pickers we get, it's like Bryce Harper. I'm like, dude, I don't want Bryce Harper. I'm sorry. Like,
and it's like, well, his wife was an athlete at like Ohio State. Dude, I'm like, then bring her on.
Yeah, seriously.
Like not Bryce Harper.
He bring his wife fewer helmets than he does.
Yeah.
I was just like, then his wife should be on here because she's the actual connection to Ohio State. Like, there's a million Ohio State alumni everywhere. There's no reason for it. Like there just isn't. But you're right. We shouldn't be worked up about it.
But here we are.
I'll forget it even happened by the end of Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I'm going to follow real quick is, guys, we've known this for a while, but Jim Harbaugh, coach of Michigan, recently in the college football playoff and a Big Ten champion. Breaking news: he's a weird dude. And I think we've known that for a while, but he just kind of continued his streak of very odd comments. And this is kind of on top of some other comments, like he didn't want his players eating chicken because they're nervous birds. Take that as you will. I think he meant that literally. But anyways, if you didn't catch it, there's two quarterbacks from Michigan, like there were last year. There's Cade McNamara, kind of your more prototypical pocket passer. And then there's J.J. McCarthy, very talented option as well, more of a dual threat option, great athleticism, speedy, can pick up yards on the run. And there's kind of this conundrum. They don't really know who to play. So Jim Harbaugh is taking an interesting approach. He is starting Cade McNamara in week 1 against Colorado State, and then he's starting J.J. McCarthy in week 2 against Hawaii. Now, it goes to show you two things. One, Harbaugh is willing to do anything, which is okay. Number 2, it goes to show you how just terrible Michigan's non-conference schedule is. I mean, it is so bad that they're willing to just swap quarterbacks for a game.
It's around, yeah.
I mean, it's really bad. So, whatever. But someone asked him about it today in a press conference. Like, well, why did you make this decision? That's kind of not typically how you decided your quarterback. And by the way, depending on how this goes, weeks 1 and 2, that's who's going to start in week 3. So his response, and this is a direct quote, "So many people have asked, how'd you come to that decision?" Harbaugh told reporters. "Was it based on some sort of NFL model? No, it was really biblical. Solomon, he was known for being a pretty wise person." Josh, I feel like we have to defer to you here. You are constantly studying Hebrew and the Old Testament. Good for you. We all have Bible minors. I think I should just clarify kind of our background. Like we're well versed. I'm understanding that he's potentially referring to the verse where Solomon's choice, when there was like two women basically arguing over whose child was whose, was to cut the baby in half. Then obviously,
yes,
we're familiar with this story, even if you're not very familiar with the Bible. That's kind of a well-known passage. So, Josh, what's your take on this? Are we committing heresy here?
So
like, what is happening?
This is the thing, is I've been trying to figure out, like, no man knows what the future holds. I'm like, here's the thing. there's a chance that he's quoting Solomon, but actually referencing parts of James and even Second Peter. That's the thing, because James talks about, now this might be something you have future Aaron has to edit. Let's go James. It's like the end of James 4. So the end of James 4, my
favorite,
James.
while you find it, Josh, my favorite comment on that on Twitter was literally the like, oh my goodness, Jim Harbaugh is about to cut a quarterback in half.
It was so good.
Again, if you're familiar with the passage.
Yes. You know exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. The end of James, it's this, James talks about the arrogant person who says, oh, today or tomorrow we will go and do this or that in a town and spend a year there and make business and do profits. And it's like, you do not know about tomorrow. For what is your life like? You are like a puff of smoke that appears for a short time. Like, that's an image of what he's getting at. At the same time, I believe it's Second Peter that... this is, see, it's not quite Googling, but
well, yeah. So CBS Sports tried their hand at
did they
their
do it?
best
Figure
guess.
out, yeah. What do they quote?
They thought it could be Ecclesiastes 11:6, which says, "Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well." Not bad. But then I love how they tagged at the end. Harbaugh did not clarify exactly where in the Bible he was referring. So I think everyone's kind of in this situation like, okay.
Yeah, what are you talking about
Jim.
Guys, I know he's a good. I know in my brain he's a good quarterback. He was a good quarterback. I know in my brain he's a good head coach. But it's random stuff like this. I'm like, are you a good coach, or did you just like end up butt backwards in the college football playoff because you landed Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo? Like, I don't know. I think you're a good coach because I think, but I don't. You're so weird, and I know I'm a Ohio State fan, so I'm obviously biased. But this dude's a weird dude, which I'm not complaining because this is great content to just talk about Jim Harbaugh. But anyways,
yeah, I can't. I'm trying, guys. I cannot find.
It's okay.
It's
okay.
There's segments in Second Peter about it, like 1,000 years is like a day of the Lord, and a day 1,000 years. Maybe he's pulling from that.
Yeah.
Like
offensive linemen, your job, first, second, third string, protect those men. Protect them. We have no idea what's going on in Ann Arbor.
It's the JHV, the Jim Harbaugh version. That's which one we're using. Yes. All right, I'm done. That's what I'm following.
Okay.
Oh boy. Guys, some new food just dropped.
Oh, okay.
And it's not just some specifically Texas food. Now, I don't know how much longer we have. We're already way over time. We are so far over time. Guys,
we're
what?
Gonna
Take
cut,
the 90 minute podcast.
We'll cut some.
Aaron will cut.
It'll still be long, but
Aaron's going to chop it up.
Yeah.
Guys, as you all know, you have it marked on your calendars, the the State Fair of Texas.
Yes.
Is coming up. September 30th to like October 23rd, something like that. Come down if you can. Watch Texas lose in the Cotton Bowl. It's great. I can hear the cries from my apartment. But every year, Texas really does, one thing they do super, super well is their food. And they have a competition before the fair even starts to get your food featured in the fair, even to get in. So I'm going to read the winners of the 3 categories that they gave, and I want you guys to tell me whether or not you would eat these things.
Okay.
Now, the full list is it's like 7 or 8 entries, in each of them. So I might just list the titles of those food items, and you can just we'll just have some fun reacting to this because why not? Guys, the winner, this is the 2022 Big Tex Choice Award winners. This is winner for Best Taste Savory. It's a fried charcuterie board.
With the wood included, I hope.
Meats, cheeses, fruits. Oh my. Chopped up fresh mozzarella, salami, and crisp green apples are tossed in olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and Italian herbs.
Wow.
The ingredients are then wrapped in a wonton wrapper and fried to a golden crisp, topped with creamy goat cheese and a drizzle of hot honey.
Again, though, I'm more interested if they just also deep fried the board, like the physical board itself. But that's
mixed
insane.
in there too, Aaron.
The only wood I'm looking at
some
is
wood
there's a
shavings,
little
just to get the full
wooden,
expect.
there are some olives. There are some like feta olives on the side, and it looks like they're stabbed with a wooden thing.
Okay,
those, like,
that'll work.
sticks. That'll work.
That's
so, yes,
crazy. That's a lot of flavors happening at once.
It looks delicious, guys.
It does
Oh my
sound
gosh,
good.
I don't want to take 10 minutes.
That sounds like more like the type of thing that like I see on Food Network, and I'm like, oh man, like that looks really good. Like never would ever put that many different things together.
We'll put this up to a vote. Of the winners, I will have one of them. I'm going to the fair because duh.
Yeah.
We'll put a vote up, and of the 3 that I list, I will get one of them.
Oh, nice.
And give you a review.
Amazing. I'll take you up on that.
So, fried charcuterie board. Okay, so that one, best taste savory. Okay. Now we're going to do best taste sweet. This is the peanut butter paradise.
Ooh.
Man cannot live by bread alone. Again, we're just running. That's Deuteronomy and Matthew. Man cannot live by bread alone. He must have peanut butter. That part's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
Just
That's the JHV right there.
That's the JHV. Peanut butter paradise starts with deep frying a honey bun. Then caramel is injected into the honey bun and topped with creamy peanut butter. The treat is then layered with some fan favorite peanut butter treats, Reese's Pieces, crushed Butterfinger crumbles, guys.
Wow.
Topped off with peanut butter cups, drizzled caramel, and a cloud of powdered sugar. And it's topped off with a little umbrella.
Is there a calorie count
in one
on
of those
this
fancy
particular
drinks?
There's a calorie. I think there's a calorie minimum to enter this category.
Fair.
That would put me into a coma from which I would never wake up, but I'd be at peace. I would be at peace.
Finally, the winner of most creative is the cha-cha-chata.
Okay.
Now, are you guys familiar with horchata?
I've heard the name. That's
yes.
about it.
I only ask because I'm also not familiar. I think I've had it once down here. It's I think it's it's a Hispanic drink. So this is not a food item. This is actually a drink. But I believe it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, and you will. I believe it's some sort of like sweet cinnamon milk sort of thing. So from what I've heard, it's delicious and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
However, sidestep all the others because it's finally here. The milkshake that will make you cha-cha-chata all night long. Inspired by the cha-cha dance. You guys ever have a drink that's inspired by a dance? Because I haven't.
I don't think I have either.
The recipe starts with a triple scoop of 2 kinds of milk and vanilla ice cream.
They don't say what kinds of ice cream.
Also, it's two.
They're 2 different kinds. Trust us.
It's a triple step of 2 kinds of milk and vanilla. I think it's just a play on. It's a dance joke. I'm sure it's a dance pun. So it starts with a triple step of 2 kinds of milk and vanilla ice cream, blended to perfection with the family top secret but famously delicious horchata recipe. The creamy drink is then poured into a rim. As it gets later and as we talk, my words stop. This sounds delicious. Okay. The creamy drink is then poured into a cup rimmed with caramel and cinnamon goodness and topped with a Texas-sized dollop of whipped topping to bring even more flavor to your taste buds because, guys, there's not enough there. The cha-cha-chata is dusted with crushed candy, a sprinkle of cinnamon galletas de Gregega, and deep-fried arroz con leche bites.
Wow.
Take a hold of the churro straw and take a sip.
No, get out of here.
Absolutely.
I'm sending you guys the full list. Because my goodness, guys, it is. Guys, some of these
cancel all my plans.
Make plans to cancel them because my goodness, I want to also have the holy biscuits. That was a contender. I want slow smoked shredded briskets and street popcorn queso stacked on top of a biscuit, and then topped also then with fries. Guys, I want a deep fried BLT. I want a deep fried lasagna roll.
Wow.
They're gonna deep fry lasagna. I want the ultimate Brookie Monster. Guys,
Josh, you're gonna go. You're gonna go here. We're not gonna hear from you for years.
Deep fried
years.
I was gonna say I want to go to the Texas State Fair, but I think I might have to wait until I'm old enough to where like I'm okay not like returning. Like that's
right.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to. I'm canceling every plan I have, not only for the night that I go to the Texas State Fair, but the morning after, because I will have deceased.
Yes,
it might be the last thing my arteries can do. Or I guess
so.
Maybe
if you've always wanted to co-host this podcast,
that broke the camel's back.
These are just the contenders. Like these are the ones that just like were in the competition. You don't have to enter the competition. Like you can just go and you can enter your deep fried whatever.
There's
so like
black market deep fried section of the Texas State Fair.
Exactly. Guys,
Love
there's chicharron. Oh my gosh, what are these? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna stop because I'm literally getting a heart attack as we speak.
If you want to co-host this podcast, then just wait till October. Josh will be in a coma for a couple years. So
if you want to pay my student loans, that'll be great.
Yeah, that too.
Gosh. What I am following is, I guess it's not really food related. It's weird. It's not totally food related. Kind of food related. So I'm following two things, but I'll make it quick because we are running way over. But the first is, you might have noticed this strange story, and it was the number 2 thing trending on all of Twitter at one point this week, was the potential name change for the mascot for the University of South Carolina. Now, if you're not familiar, South Carolina is the Gamecocks, which is basically a chicken bred for fighting, a rooster, I should say. So one, that's not legal anymore. So it's interesting that you would name your university after something that's literally illegal, pretty much. But it's just a certain type of chicken that was specifically sought out and then kind of bred to do chicken fights, right? So they have like a spur on the back of their leg and like things like that. So basically because South Carolina has a live gamecock mascot, because why wouldn't you? That's fun. So the keeper said, hey, we can't really do this anymore. So they're going to pass it off to another couple. And so they passed them off. Well, in the midst of that, they had a little bit of a discussion, an issue with how they were going to present and take care of the gamecock. Like they're going to take good care of them. But apparently the first owners would clip the top of the rooster's, like, you know, the little red kind of skin flap at the top of the
comb,
rooster that you imagine there. So yeah, Aaron had chickens, so he understands a little bit more. And so they always clipped it. Well, the new couple's like, well, we're not going to do that. That's not necessary. We really only did that because like you only do that if you're actually going to fight the chicken, which clearly they're not. But they're like, yeah, but it's tradition. So they had this big fight. The original couple said, well, we own the original name. Like, so you can't use it anymore. So then the local paper said, well, since like, hey, like, I guess we're probably going to need a new name. So they put out a poll. This is a great poll. So I'll just list off some of the names that they threw out there in the poll that were voted on. Now, it's the newspaper, so they don't get the last say in what the mascot actually gets named, of course. So here's some of the names. You had Mr. Chicken Scratch. Okay. Kirkin Chicken, Captain Cluck, Brewster, Marco Pollo. That's clever. I'll give them that one.
Underrated for sure.
Yes. That is the most underrated on here. Cockadoodle Dude, Cluck Norris. Coop.
Classic.
Okay. And then, of course, the number one voted on in the whole thing is Cock Commander. I mean, outstanding job, guys. Like, just fantastic. Hilarious. Of course, the university will not be using that. I think it got 87% of the vote. It was so like the original name was Sir Big Spur. That'll be gone. I believe he's just being called Commander now,
or like the general or something like that.
I think he's just like the commander or something like that. So, of
Missed
course, he will not be called that by most fans and the general public. But that was just a hilarious story. Godspeed to all the announcers and analysts and reporters that had to say that on live television. That was just such a funny random story this week. And then lastly, one of my favorite things, I was on the Mississippi and Missouri for a good part of my trip, which was really fun, very beautiful. One of my favorite things that I saw on the internet this week was that there is currently a man floating down the Missouri River in an attempt to break a 38-mile journey. Now, he's floating down the Missouri River inside of a pumpkin. Inside of a pumpkin. I love it. It's my favorite thing. He's trying to break the world record. He looks like he couldn't be more happy, more at peace. This man's got beer and just, a kayaking paddle in there, and he's just rowing his 38-mile down. I mean, he is living his best life. But I wanted to say some words that he was quoted on saying. And so this is the inspiration that Mr. Hansen got for floating down the Missouri River. And so he was at a giant pumpkin growing seminar. I love that. This is the quote. I was at a giant pumpkin growing seminar, a 3-day seminar in Portland, Oregon.
No.
First off, I love that. That's my favorite part of the quote.
Oh my gosh.
And I met this lady that had the record. At the time, it was a 25 something miles. And I asked her a lot of questions. And that's when I decided I wanted to do this. I love that. He was like, so the longest trip you've ever gone in paddling in a pumpkin down a river is 25 miles. I can beat that. I love that mindset. This man is the best. I would love to meet him. I mean, he literally, his next quote is, "You can drink beer in a pumpkin." I mean, I just asked her the questions, and that happened to be one of them.
Oh my gosh.
It's just this man is just and his wife, they ask his wife, what it's like to be the wife of a world record holder, and she's like, it's so stressful. I never know what's going to be next, because he's always doing this kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh,
Mr. Hansen, you might be one of my new heroes. So keep on keeping on, man. I hope you have a great trip on the Missouri River, floating in your pumpkin.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, between the option of drinking beer out of a pumpkin or with a hot dog, please drink it out of a pumpkin. Anyways.
True.
For those, if you know, you know. Anyways. All right. Well, guys, we have a bunch of week one, some really good games. We obviously didn't get into a lot of it because we were talking NFL. If you want to know kind of our thoughts and myself and Jonny's thoughts specifically, then make sure you check out our YouTube channel, where we're going to have some smaller videos, some bigger videos about week one picks, just a little bit of everything happening. That's part of our Football Monday show that streams every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is right after the podcast that you're listening to, which streams at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you ever want to come hang out live with us as we record the podcast, you are more than welcome to do so. Again, we stream on our YouTube channel, 5th and Goal Sports. And also check us out on Twitter. We had some fun on Twitter this week. Florida posted a picture with all of their staff members. And of course, we naturally took to some Photoshop, and you guys really liked it. So we'll have to do some more of that, but appreciate the support there on Twitter. All right, that wraps us up. We've got so much good college football. We're going to be breaking it all down next week. We'll have NFL one step closer as well. So we hope you guys have a good week. Enjoy the football, and we'll see you guys next time. All right.
Aaron, I'm almost upset Pick'em doesn't have the ACC Group of 5 challenge. Well, I guess it's not Group of 5 challenge totally.
For week one. You mean East Carolina? Yeah, they didn't have either one.
They don't. Well, there's 3 of them.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
They didn't have any of them. And I just checked. North Carolina App State is even.
Is it really?
Now.
Wow.
It's even. So it's not even a good bet. Everybody's like, yeah, App State could win this game.
Yeah.
It's too obvious. But I have some good ones. That one of them I thought was really obvious, but apparently it's not.
Okay.
So, yeah. I can't wait until sports betting is
Oh my gosh.
it's in Ohio.
Josh, you'll have to keep us accountable.
Separate bank account just for that.
Yeah.
When I see both of your venues change, where you're both just in like little cardboard boxes.
And we're sitting together.
Pair change.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Be Squidward in the
Yes, exactly.
Squidward in the cardboard box.
Yeah. YouTube, 1 second. I'm gonna put you guys on mute, or us on mute for you guys real quick. Hang on. Okay, so Josh, just for your awareness, we're not announcing this yet because we're gonna announce it in a couple days. But Jonny and I are heading to Miami, Ohio, not this Saturday, but next. We are gonna be covering our first football game for Fifth and Goal Sports. So, yeah. Oh wait, so I got a connection there, but we'll be chilling in the press box, probably some press, post game press conference stuff. So, anyways, I'm not announcing that yet. So.
It'll be cool.
Welcome back, stream. But just that there's the news that YouTube you'll find out soon. It's not that secretive, but I figured it's at least Jonny and I haven't really talked about it at all in detail, other than what it is. So.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah, it'd be good.
Who are they playing?
Robert Morris. So not like a crazy
Okay.
game, but like just good to get our foot in the door and all that. So that'd be good. All right, Jonny, I think I'm ready to switch over.
Yeah.
Whenever it works best.
You don't want I know you've said in the past you don't want it recorded, right?
If it's not that big of a deal, if we don't mind recording tonight, since I'll make some YouTube videos out of it, like individual, there might be a little bit better audio quality for it. I may not use it, but it's not a bad backup. So
I'm fine with recording it. Just that's why I asked.
yeah, we'll do it tonight.
Okay.
All right, cool. Well, Josh, thanks for recording tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Hopefully, all the homework is not too bad. So
Yeah, it's I just got a random text of like half of my where would it be? Yeah, I gotta go. I had a random last minute assignment that is not like sticking, so I gotta go put out a real quick fire. So
yes. Later,
have a
Josh.
good rest of your night,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
See ya.
See you, Josh. I'm going to get some water real quick.
Yeah, all good.
Just so I'm good.
Yep.
Be right back.
Sounds good. Guys, my B-roll, I just call it B-roll. So you know I've been thinking about too many YouTube videos. My B-reel just went off. But the problem is this right here is my phone, but it's also my camera. So I think I'm just going to be late. I think we're just going to be late. All right, well, if you're hanging out with us, wow, I really can't talk tonight. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for doing that. We're about to get into our Football Mondays show, which I'm excited about. We've got some fun stuff. There's so many good games week one. I know there usually is, but there's a lot of really good games. Interesting. How many of them will like alter the college football season as we know it? Probably not that many, but Notre Dame, Ohio State will. I think Utah, Florida could. Cincinnati, Arkansas, I don't think will. I don't think it will. I think Arkansas is going to have a fine year. I think they overachieved last year. I think Sam Pittman, Arkansas, they go like 7-5. I think Cincinnati has another great year. They're in the mix for New Year's 6. I think they go 10-2. Oregon, Georgia, maybe, probably, yeah. I've got Oregon going like 9-3. But we'll talk about it. We're breaking all that down. We've got that. We've got hot takes this season. We've got Johnny's best bets. We've got our college football pick'em week 1. So that's all very exciting. We're going to be doing that. So we're doing that next. Yeah. And I don't know, depending on when you're watching this, if you're watching a replay or whatever, just want to say thank you for doing that. But we've got some other videos coming out. We've got a bunch of stuff happening on our website. We've got a college football, a big college football preview coming out. Really, really in depth. I'm really excited. We were trying to release it a little bit earlier, but the fact that we're releasing all this stuff coming out, it's sweet. So I hope you guys enjoy it. We're doing it for you guys, so it's free, so it's accessible to you, the college football fan. So plus, we'll be announcing. We've got a lot we're announcing. There's a couple things that we're waiting to announce. They're kind of like semi-secret. There is our college football previews. There is our college football pick'em. There's all kinds of standings, projections, and stuff that will be coming out within the next few days. So it's a good time. It's fun to have 11 games under our belt too. I know none of them were outside of Nebraska and Northwestern. None of them were super critical or even that exciting turned out, but that's okay. But it's still football, so really can't complain. Yeah.
I forgot to give a shout out to Steven. I was talking to him at the wedding, and he's like, yeah, I listen every single week.
Oh, well, shout out Steven.
Like,
I don't know. Well, I will say he did message me about this show, if there'd be replays available, because he said he can't listen to this one. So, Steven, if you're watching a replay of this, then shout out to you, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the watch, Steven.
Yeah.
Or listen.
Yeah.
I probably listen. But
well, this one's a watch, probably. So
that's true.
Well, maybe listen. I don't know. You could do audio.
Do whatever you want.
And honestly, well, I may end up throwing this in a. That's the other reason I may record is I may throw this in a bonus episode of the podcast. We'll see.
Sure.
Almost like, hey, here's the thing we're doing every week. Just kind of as a reminder. So we might do that. All right. Let me. Yeah.
I will record. Start recording.
Yeah, I'm going to record as well.
Recording now.
Sweet.
Record. Yep, we're all good.
Sweet. All right, I'll get it. It's pretty chill. We'll roll right into it. And I think I'm just going to kind of go in the order that we have it, if that's cool with you. And it probably won't spend a lot of time on week 0, just as a heads up, because especially if we're releasing this, actually maybe virtually no time on week 0.
That's totally.
We got enough stuff to cover anyway, so. All right, cool. Well, welcome to Football Mondays with me, Aaron, and Jonny. We're happy to be back. We have some football that has happened. That's an exciting statement to say. Week 0 is behind us. We had 11 games, of course, none more notable than the game in Ireland between Nebraska and Northwestern. I'm assuming if you're listening to a very specifically nerdy college football show that you already know what happened between Northwestern and Nebraska. Just about everyone's talking about it. We talked about it on our podcast, the Fifth and Goal podcast. And by the way, shout out to you podcast listeners, in case this is a bonus episode of the podcast. So we're really not going to go into too much detail, partially because there's so much to break down about week 1. So that's kind of where we're going to start. We're going to just start with some hot takes on this season. So, Jonny, we do this every year. We call it freezing cold takes because we think we're going to be so right that these aren't hot takes. They're the opposite. They're freezing cold. I don't know if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't. But let's start. Jonny, do you want to kick us off with freezing cold take number 1?
Yeah, and I have more than just these.
Yes.
These 3 for sure, but these are just 3 that I feel even better about. So the first is NC State wins the ACC. So I was going to say just Clemson doesn't. That felt like a cop-out. I needed to pick someone else. NC State wins the ACC. I don't think DJ fixes it. I think Clemson has more problems than you would think they have because they refuse to use the transfer portal on, it feels almost like moral reasons, which I don't understand. They lost Tony Elliott. They lost Brent Venables. And it's a very family organized program where losing 2 very key culture creators on your team, I have a lot of questions about Clemson. I don't think they're going to be bad. I think NC State wins it. And heck, I think Miami's going to be really good this year too. So NC State winning the ACC.
I like
it. That is my first pick.
All right.
Freezing cold pick.
Yeah. I think there's also a chance the ACC gets left out altogether, but that's not the freezing cold take I'm talking about. I'm talking about a freezing cold take that Auburn fans may either agree with or just hate me for saying this, and probably both. I don't think Brian Harsin makes it past this season. The offseason was such a dumpster fire. And if Auburn doesn't start 5-1, 6-0, the second half of the schedule is brutal. It's brutal. The quarterback situation, I'm not sold on. I know they named TJ Finley their starter. And I know he was thrown into a fire at the end of the season playing playing Alabama. I think it has the makings of a disaster. I'm picking Auburn to finish dead last in the SEC West. I think it could be a dumpster fire for Auburn this season for more reasons than I just listed. I know they bring back Tank Bigsby. I know they've got some pieces, but there's injury concerns. Their center, as like 2 hours ago, as we're recording this, just quit the team because of multiple injuries.
Yeah, he just retired from football.
It's bad. It's bad. It's tough that they arguably have the toughest schedule because they have to play Georgia too. And I want to say they even pull like Kentucky or somebody else out of the East. Like it's bad. I could be wrong about that, but that's my second freezing cold take. I think Auburn struggles like 5-7. I think Harsin's gone mid-season.
Aaron, did you see what happened with their AD yesterday?
Well, that's part of it. I'm glad you brought that up because the new AD is going to come in and he's going to want to get rid of Harsin because that has not gone according to plan. And that's the perfect reason. Auburn's going to go 5-7 or maybe worse than that. And they cut ties before the season's over. So that's a huge, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a huge piece of this.
Brian Harsin might almost be a mercy kill though.
Yes.
Who wants to be the athletic director or coach at Auburn? They think they're Alabama.
Yeah.
The expectations are insane. Alabama didn't expect this quick of results from Nick Saban when he got there. But Auburn expects it to be, we're competing for a national title like end of year 2 into year 3. Like it's absurd how they just basically just right before the season starts, you get rid of your athletic director. That's unheard of. Yeah, that's madness. Anyway, we won't stay on that for too long. But my next freezing cold take is that the Sun Belt East is the best group of 5 division.
All right.
I think that it's outstanding. If this has kind of gotten lost in conference realignment if you're not a big college football fan. But I love what the Sun Belt did this offseason and what will happen in the coming years as well. While everybody's kind of reaching for the money and going to big markets, and you understand it, the Sun Belt is banking on what has made college football great up to this point, and that's regional rivalries where you run into these people at the supermarket, at the gas station, and there's animosity, and you don't hardly look at them. You don't want to talk to them or say the name of the school that they go to. You won't wear that school's color out of pride for where you went to school or why you cheer for them. They are just loading up on schools in the Carolinas, in Virginia, in Alabama, Mississippi. I love these regional rivalries. But the East Division is App State, which I think great opportunity to beat North Carolina week 1, sold out at home.
Yep.
Coastal Carolina should still be awesome with Grayson McCall coming back. Georgia Southern's always a game opponent. They should be okay. Georgia State probably is the worst team in this division. They're, whatever. James Madison constantly competing for the national title with North Dakota State. I expect them to be very competitive still this first year. I expect them to have an ascendancy somewhat like App State when they came in to the Sun Belt and immediately competed. Marshall is a great addition to the conference. I think they'll be great in the East. And Old Dominion's improved from the year before. They might end up just kind of unfortunately being, the casualty of this division just because it's so brutal and it's so loaded up. Honestly, I really think the winner of the Sun Belt is deserving of a New Year's Six Bowl. They probably just beat each other up so much they can't get there as a group of 5 team with the American getting most of the love. But love this division. I think they could be the 3rd or 4th best division overall in the country.
Wow, there you go. There's a freezing cold take.
Yeah, that sounds a little absurd. It's going to be the most competitive. It's going to be one of the most competitive behind, of course, the SEC West and the Big Ten East are always your top 2 divisions. But after After that, this is one of the best divisions in the entire country.
I love it. That's a great freezing cold take. I'm going to stick in the group of 5 because we love the group of 5 on this show, unapologetically. Houston, the Houston Cougars are going 12-0. And here's why. They have a couple great tests. In fact, week 1, the group of 5 game of maybe the year, in non-conference at least, Houston versus UTSA, the Roadrunners versus the Cougars, a great in-state rivalry. I hope they play this game every year. That's a tough one. They also play Texas Tech. But if they can get past those 2 hurdles, the conference season works out in Houston's favor. They avoid Cincinnati and they avoid UCF, the other top 2 teams that are going to compete for an American title. They avoid them in the regular season. So that means they just have to beat basically one of those teams in the conference championship. And look, Cincinnati didn't completely blow them away. Houston looked good. Houston at the end of last season, everyone was talking about Cincinnati. They were talking about Desmond Ridder, all those guys. They were obviously deserving of that. But Houston, led by Dana Holgerson, yeah, that's probably a name you haven't heard in a while if you haven't been following, won 11 games in a row and then beat Auburn in a bowl game. So Houston's legit. They bring back quarterback Clayton Tune. They'll have one of the best offenses in the country, kind of typical Dana Holgerson offense, and the defense will be all right. It'll be good enough that they've got a good chance to go 12-0. I think they go 12-0. I think they get to a New Year's 6 game. I think the playoff is probably out of the picture, even if they go 12-0 because of the schedule. It works in their advantage to get undefeated, works in their disadvantage that their strength of schedule will be bad, and I don't think they find their way in the playoff. But Houston, that's my freezing cold take. Number 4. Number 5, what you got?
Love it. Pick number 5, which Desmond Howard and many others will be angry for this one. Texas A&M not only does not make the playoff, they won't be ranked at the end of the season.
Wow.
So, big talk about what A&M did last year. They finished the regular season 8-4. You beat Alabama and everybody makes such a huge deal about it, and deservingly so, but that doesn't mean that you had this world beater of a team necessarily. They went off and kind of lost their minds, played beyond themselves in that game, which was great. But look at A&M's schedule. We just talked about App State and FCS teams moving to FBS. A&M has a brutal schedule. Sam Houston, week 1, they're going to beat them, but they're one of the best FCS schools. Then they play Appalachian State. Then they have Miami, and then they go to Arkansas in that fun showdown they always have in Jerry World. Mississippi State, Alabama's going to beat the brakes off of A&M after this offseason.
Yes.
South Carolina's improved. Ole Miss will... I think Ole Miss isn't really deserving of being ranked, but they're okay. They got Florida. They got Auburn. UMass is their easiest game of the season. Honestly, I think the schedule lightens up as they go. The back end of the season is a little easier. I don't think they end up being ranked, though. I think there's a chance they lose to Miami. I think Arkansas could easily beat them. They lose to Alabama. You get 4 losses. You're not going to be ranked. So I think there's a good chance that A&M loses 4 games. They are not ranked at the end of the season. And I think there's some more pressure on Jimbo going into next year. They have the number 1 incoming recruiting class for the season. They're all freshmen. They're going to be a very talented team. I think their youth will be exposed this season. And I think next year is really when they're more deserving of that number 6 preseason ranking. I think it'll be a very quick fall for Texas A&M. After the first half of the season, I expect them to be out of the poll.
It's not, if you're listening and you're banging your fist and you think these 2 people are crazy, you could be right. But 2019, Texas A&M starts the year number 12. They finish outside of the poll. Last year started the season number 8. They finished number 25. So it's not unheard of. It's happened, but I think you're right. Texas A&M in 2 years, I think we are talking about them in the same tier as Alabama, as Georgia, as Ohio State. I think in 2 years, absolutely. Because you're right, number 1 recruiting class this year. Next year's class isn't not in cement, it's not finalized yet, but they'll have a top 5 class, if not the number 1 class. Again, the NIL money's there. Yeah. We've talked about this, but agreed. So there's your 5 freezing cold takes. Let us know what you think. We'll see how correct we are as the season goes along, but make sure you're watching some fun group of 5 games and let us know in the comments what you think. So that's good. Group of 5, man. That's where it's at.
Represent.
Yeah, it's good. I love the Sun Belt East, and I was thinking man, there has to be a better division than It can't be third best. And I was thinking, you know what? It probably is because the Big 12 doesn't have divisions. The American doesn't have divisions. I like
it's a little cheap.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. I don't like the ACC. Like could be better, but there's no guarantee. They haven't been the last couple of years. Like the American has legitimately been a better conference than the ACC the last 2 years. I think that changes this year, but who knows? But that's assuming like Florida State doesn't just go 6-6 again. That assumes Miami takes the next step. They go 10-2 instead of 6-6. So
that assumes Clemson ascends again, perhaps. Yep. You know, like, and like honestly, Aaron, if you were chopping up the Pac-12 again, I still would say that because yes, USC
I disagree
and
Utah
with that. Are clearly
UCLA is
better.
Good too, but
okay, that's fair.
I would disagree with that one. But
the bottom 3 teams in the Pac-12 South are awful. So there is an argument to be had there. The Pac-12 North has awful teams.
Yeah.
So like that's where like I'd take most of those Sun Belt East teams over a lot of those Pac-12 teams in a neutral site game.
Yeah. I like it. Oh man, I love week 1's so fun because we get a lot of those like I mean Boise State, Oregon State at 10:30. I'm pumped for that game. Like that's going to be so interesting because Boise State, we didn't talk about them in our freezing cold takes, but if we're just taking a moment to stop and talk about group of 5 teams, Boise State's got an excellent chance to go 11-1 and make a New Year's 6 appearance. Boise State should look more like the Boise State that you remember. I mean, really, they took 1 year off. They went like 7-5, right? Like they'll be right back into it. Fresno State is going to be awesome. They've got a great chance to beat USC week 3. I don't know if they do, but they've got the quarterback to do it. He beat UCLA in one of the gutsiest, most incredible performances of last season. So there's so many fun teams. And like, I think as college football fans, we're obviously super, super into it. But for everyone that looks at the playoff and says, it's the same 4 teams every year, or in this season, like it's just Alabama, Ohio State, and who really cares? I'm like, well, I would argue that is a very pessimistic and sad outlook on the state of college football because you know what? You might be right about Ohio State and Alabama being the 2 clear favorites. That may be what happens. But I'd like to say, number 1, there has never been the same set of 4 teams in the playoffs, and we've been doing this since 2014. That's never happened. But you also get all these stories like, okay, making a New Year's 6 game for a team like Louisiana, a team like App State, a team like Cincinnati is huge because whether fair or not, if you go to a New Year's 6 and you compete well against a Georgia, your resume is automatically better heading into the next season. I know they say it doesn't matter. It does. Cincinnati does not make the playoff if they don't go undefeated in the regular season and almost beat Georgia. They don't make it there. And that's why Houston can run the table, and it's a great story. They're not sniffing the playoff. And we can argue about that later, whether that's fair enough. But if they go undefeated, they run the table, and they beat Oklahoma, and then they do it again the next year, just scenario. I know it's not going to happen that way, but that's the reality. If you're interested in college football playoff and college football playoff only, I would say there's far more to college football than that. But at the same time, it actually does matter what you do, even if you're going 10-2. It's about your trajectory, which way are you going up? Because if Texas A&M has a bad year, if they go 7-5, then like I don't know, the season finale against LSU could actually be a big deal. So that's my little soapbox about it's all good. There's some things about the college football playoff that make college football not as good, but I think if you look past it, it's great. So anyways.
Bring us back to BCS.
That's right. All right. Well, we should move on kind of to our next segment. Jonny, you and I were in Ohio. Kind of disclaimer, we're getting sports betting legal in January. For some of you watching, that might be the case now. And again, I don't really know. I don't think there's any legal things we have to say, but use your money responsibly and maybe bet the opposite of what we tell you to. But Jonny, I think you've got some good bets for the people. So Jonny's best bets, we're going to try to hit you with 3 bets every week that will make you some money. We'll keep track of it too. Like we'll see what record we have as we go throughout the season. But Jonny, what do you got?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good value picks this week. So I always enjoy looking at the spread and just seeing how they feel. And week 1 can be very hard to guess, especially in college sports, just because there's so much turnover, especially with the transfer portal now. Teams just look wildly different year to year. And, even if they stay at a school, they're there for 4 years. Most of the time they only play 2. So they look very different year to year. So week 1 is, you kind of have to be a little bit have some caution just with what you're picking. You want to look at teams that are returning a lot of players, ones that you feel are very stable in the coaching staff. Go after some, and you're also going to have a lot of New Mexico State, Alabama week 1 as well.
Yes.
Don't go after that. Alabama's a 40-point favorite week 1. Don't touch that because they might not actually cover because Saban puts in his walk-ons in the second half. So never go anywhere near those. Those just are really, really, and betting the under is usually correct, but betting the over is always more fun. So that's why pick some that you can go over because it's more fun to cheer for points. Anyway, and again, not legal in Ohio, so we're just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
What we would
bet your Monopoly money, and maybe that's a good recommendation for you, anyways. But put some Monopoly money on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But pick number 1, number 25 BYU against South Florida. And you're like, okay, I don't care about this game at all. I get it. And really, you shouldn't. BYU is only a 12-point favorite in this game, which is honestly quite shocking. They've been steady as we go for the last several years for BYU. Now, it is in Tampa, so maybe that's a little bit of a concern just because they are on the road. You're traveling from Provo, Utah to Tampa, Florida. Maybe the humidity is an issue. Honestly, a lot of the players from BYU are Polynesian. I'm not really worried about their issue in the heat. I think they easily cover that 12-point spread against South Florida. South Florida is one of the worst teams perennially, if I can say that word, in the American Conference. BYU's been steady. I expect them to cover that. Maybe they only win by 14. Still covering. I really like the Cougars to be able to cover there. Any disagreements on that one, Aaron?
I don't have disagreements. I will say South Florida is going to be a little bit better this year. They did really well in the transfer portal. I think week 1, they're not I think it's a safe bet week 1 because there's so many transfers that how do you really gel in one game and put it together? They did add Gary Bohannon at quarterback. That's interesting from Baylor. But I agree. I feel pretty comfortable. I think BYU is going to have an excellent year. They've got a really tough schedule, but I do think BYU will be locked and loaded, ready to go, even in a road game week 1.
Yeah. My next pick is, and this is, I love Kent State. The Flashes had a good year last year, even though the record was still only 8-6 overall. They had a really solid year. They traveled to Seattle to play Washington. And Washington is what you would expect of a Power 5 team playing a MAC school. They're 21.5-point favorites. Here's the thing. Washington can't be worse than they were last year. They still might be the second or first worst team in the Pac-12 this season. Would not be shocked if Washington is still just awful. Kent State's one of the best teams in the MAC. I think they cover at 21.5. I think they have a chance to beat Washington straight up in this game. The Pac-12 always has that one game, week 1, where one of them stumbles, and you look and you're like, how on earth did that happen? And it's to a MAC, Sunbelt, Conference USA, sometimes even an FCS school. I'm looking at you, Washington State, with Eastern Washington.
Well, you don't have to look. You don't even have to look that far, Johnny. The team you're talking about, Montana, 13-7.
Yeah,
cool.
Right. Yep. And so that should make them not take any team for granted. Maybe they win. I don't think they cover a 21.5-point spread, even at home. So feel solid about the Golden Flashes in that game.
That's going to be interesting because you've got basically worst on worst. You have Washington's offense, which I've got the stat pulled up, 21.5 points per game. That was tied for 107th in football last year, and there's only 131 teams. Yes.
So you're saying Kent State doesn't score?
What I'm saying is Washington doesn't score. Kent State couldn't stop anybody. I could have run for 4,000 yards on Kent State last year. But it's interesting. You get Michael Penix at quarterback for Washington. He's a transfer. People kind of forgot about him last year. He had sensational 2020 year, threw for like 400 plus yards on Ohio State, but then was like injured all of 2021. Basically, if he was in there, was not healthy. But I agree. I think it's going to, again, this will be a situation, new head coach, first game, trying to figure things out. I think Kent State could sneak in there and make life a little difficult for Washington. I'm probably going to push back on winning it, but I would take the bet that they could cover. So well done.
Crazier things have happened.
Yes.
The bet is to cover, not to win straight up.
Correct.
But
yes,
I think there's a chance there. So if you want a real long shot,
yeah,
that probably would be a good pick.
Yeah.
Putting a little bit, have a high return on that one. And those are the ones that you really want to look for. They're more fun, and then you're not putting much into it, and it's more of a fun. This should always be fun. Anyway, mini rant over. My last pick, and I have some other ones that I really like, but these were the three best ones to me. And this is Oregon covering against Georgia. Georgia is a 17-point favorite, and I realize neutral is not true here. The game's being played in Atlanta.
And by the way, there's no game plan for like Portland in the next year. So this is garbage. Get rid of these stupid neutral site games. There's no reason for it.
Also, we hate this. Play them on campus.
Yes.
Play the game in Athens. Play the next year in Eugene. I know Ohio State had that set up with Oregon to go to Eugene and then Columbus. Unfortunately, COVID got in the way of that. But I appreciate when schools schedule that home and home. These games belong on campus. Give your season ticket holders what they really kind of are paying for and deserve, and allow the students to be more involved in the game. When you have these neutral site games, the crowds are a little stale. Not that they're not into the game. It's not the same. You want the passion, the tradition, the home field, the marching band, the tailgating outside. Yep. It's not the same. Stop with the neutral site games. We hate them. Fans hate these. But anyway, I really like Oregon's chances in this game overall. Truly. Georgia lost. They're gutted on the defense. Now, they're going to be super talented. It's going to be a great defense still. Week 1, though, there might be some growing pains. Lanning, their defensive coordinator from last year, is Oregon's head coach as well. So they're breaking in a new defensive coordinator. They lost almost all of their starters on the defensive side. So there's a lot to replace there. I think there's going to be a learning curve there. I think there's going to be a lot. And when, again, Stetson Bennett, now he proved me wrong in the national title game, but even then it felt like he does just enough for Georgia to win a game. What if he gets put in a situation where he has to be the reason they win? That could very well happen in this game. Lanning's going to understand how to slow down that Georgia offense. He faced them in practice all those years. He knows the weaknesses of the defense. I know Kirby Smart is going to have a lot of hands-on and probably make some tweaks and changes to mess him up. I think Oregon keeps it close at the very least. I don't expect there to be a lot of points in this game, to be completely honest with you. 17 sounds like a lot of points. I really like the Ducks to be able to cover. And even if they don't beat Georgia, I think this game is closer to a 6-point occasion.
Okay. Yeah, the Lanning playing his old team first week of the season, that could not have been drawn up more perfectly. It sounds like something the NFL would do to just great TV. And that's not really what, this game was scheduled a long time ago. This is kind of just happened to be this way, which is great. I think it totally depends on what kind of quarterback play you're getting. You talked about the quarterback from Georgia, Stetson Bennett. I think that's fair. What kind of quarterback play are you getting from Oregon, who doesn't sound like they've really settled on a quarterback? Obviously, Bo Nix is there, transferring in from Auburn. I assume he'll be the pick, but it sounds like Ty Thompson is getting a look. It still hasn't been fully decided, at least with a few days left. So we'll see on that. That'll be very interesting. Can they run the ball without Travis Dye? Some interesting questions, but I do agree. I think this has got a chance to be low scoring. Georgia, remember, lost 15 players 15 players that were drafted. That was the most ever in the modern draft era. And if you look at the other teams that were nearby, 2019 LSU, I'm 2001 Miami or 2002 Miami, those teams had a drop off. Now, I'm not saying Georgia goes 7-5, but yeah, they could be vulnerable week 1, trying to figure things out after that much talent is gone. The offense will be tremendous for Georgia. I think that's going to be interesting. They may flip it. The Georgia offense might be what leads them this year and probably will need to. The defense will still be good. That'll be interesting against a pretty good Oregon defense with Noah Sewell, probably the second best defensive player in the country. So, all right, there's your bets. Go spend your Monopoly money, folks, and report back if you ended up in jail or you landed on the free parking. So, all right. Well, that does take us into this week's picks. So, here we are. We're making picks for week 1, and a reminder that you can join us as we compete to not eat mayonnaise ice cream. The link in the description, link on our website, depending on where you're watching this. You can join us. Obviously, we're not going to make you eat mayonnaise ice cream. If you want to, sure, I guess, but I have concerns if you're voluntarily doing that. That's besides the point. Jonny, we've got 10 picks to make. We're not really going to say our confidence picks per se, because look, we're not trying to get like you guys to copy us but change like one thing. Like we're not trying to no, don't cheat on the test here, okay? Make your own picks. But we'll give you our picks. We'll give you some reasons why, and you can decide what to do. You can join with us. You can compete with us every week. We'll be talking about the standings, who's leading. We've got some prizes for this too that we'll be announcing at some point. More than just making either Jonny or I eat mayonnaise ice cream. So we'll get into it. An interesting Northeast game. Rutgers and Boston College going back to their Big East days. This is an interesting pick. Jonny, I'll over to you to start.
I think this is a really tough pick, honestly. I love that they're playing each other, though.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Good for the Northeast for these two schools to be playing. Ultimately, my pick comes down to quarterback play. And I have more faith in Phil Jurkovich for Boston College and Jeff Hafley to make enough plays. I don't think Rutgers' offense will be able to necessarily keep up, although that has been improved. Would not be shocked. Don't feel the most confident in this pick, but I'll go with the Eagles. I think they win this matchup this time around.
Yeah, I love it. I agree with you. I think Phil the Thrill, one of the best nicknames in college football. They played a couple years ago. They played in 2019. They played in New Jersey. It was the Eagles taking home I believe it was 30-16 victory, so by a couple touchdowns. But you're right. This is a different Rutgers team. It was obvious when in 2020, when they get Greg Schiano, the wins haven't really jumped, but how competitive they've been in those games has. But I agree with you. I do think Boston College takes this game at home. All right, the game we were just talking about, Oregon, Georgia. I've got Georgia. I think they're going to win. I think they win by 10, so I think your bet still stands from best bets. I like the Bulldogs. I think Kirby Smart's going to have his team locked, ready to go. I've got Georgia 11-1 this year, and this is not the one loss they take. So I've got Georgia in a home game. Let's get out of here with that neutral site nonsense. It's ridiculous.
My heart wants to pick Oregon so bad. So badly. But the Pac-12 teams in these games every year just fail me. And they usually fail me in the last 5 minutes of the game. I think the exact same thing happens this year. So I'm going to avoid the pain, and I will pick Georgia.
All right. Sounds good. How about another top 25 matchup? Cincinnati, last year's college football playoff team, travels to Arkansas to start the year. Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks had a great year. Last year, he's looking to build on that success. I'm taking the Razorbacks. Look, Cincinnati, I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to be good again. I think they're 11-1, 10-2. But if any team, we're talking Ohio State, we're talking Alabama, if any team lost the kind of talent that Cincinnati did to the draft, you could argue that outside of Georgia, only Cincinnati lost more NFL talent. There's just no way you're going to recover in time, in my opinion. New quarterback, new running back, which was actually the more important aspect of their offense. They had the best secondary in college football, you could argue. All of that's kind of gone. And I like Arkansas. This is actually the only, I heard this stat, and I would attribute this if I knew where it came from. This is the only time that Kendall Briles, offensive coordinator from Arkansas, has a quarterback returning to his offense, and that is KJ Jefferson. So that's interesting. Wow. So who knows what he could do? I know Burks is gone, but this is Arkansas. I think they win by 2 touchdowns, but Fickle's going to hang in there until the end.
Fickle will have them ready. Defense will be ready. I think they're even going to be locked and loaded and be able to run the ball still. But what you said, Aaron, lost their starting quarterback, running back, best wide receiver. They lost the best secondary in the country. How do you replace that? How do you replace that week 1 against Arkansas? Part of me says that Cincinnati still finds a way.
They might.
But I don't think so with KJ Jefferson coming back. All the reasons that you said, I have to go with the Razorbacks in this one. I don't know if Arkansas actually stays ranked this year just with such a brutal schedule.
Yes.
I think they should start off on the right foot. I think they do beat Cincinnati in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I've got Arkansas at like 7-5 this year. So we're on the same page.
I feel like a good team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, arguably one of the 15 best teams in college football. The record's not going to show it because they're playing the other 15. So, yes.
They'll destroy whatever 7-5 team that has the misfortune of playing them, and probably the Big Ten and the Music City Bowl.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And the fact that Cincinnati made it to a playoff, nobody's overlooking them. So Arkansas is going to take this game very seriously. I expect to win there.
Yes.
All right, here's a fun one. Some Pac-12 After Dark, but being played in the Mountain West. This is, I believe, the opening of new Snapdragon Stadium. That is the new close to campus site for the San Diego State Aztecs. We're talking San Diego State versus Arizona. Arizona has had their issues. San Diego State has been good in the Mountain West. This to me is a coin flip. I do think Arizona is going to be better this year, but give me some group of 5, man. I love the group of 5. I'm taking the Aztecs at home, opening up that new beautiful stadium.
Man, we're agreeing too much. I might need to flip some picks.
Yeah.
Arizona was, in my opinion, the worst Power 5 school last year, and it wasn't remotely close. And I don't even blame their new head coach. I can't remember. He's going into his second year.
Yeah.
It's really not his
Fish.
fault. Fish, after Rich Rod and after Kevin Sumlin, the cupboard was bare. There might not have even been a cupboard anymore. There was nothing for him to work with at Arizona. They need to give him time. Playing a San Diego State team that has been really extremely consistent and ever growing Mountain West is tough. That's a tough draw week 1 for Arizona. I got the Aztecs as well.
Well, the Aztecs beat the Wildcats by 24 at Arizona last year. So, yes, I think Arizona is better. Are they 24 points better plus whatever road thing you're going to throw in with this new stadium? I don't think so. I've got the Aztecs winning. Next one up. This is kind of your group of 5 game of the week. That's potentially the best non-conference group of 5 game you're going to see this season. It is number 24 Houston heading to UTSA. If you missed it, part of our freezing cold takes. Do I believe this? I believe it enough to make it one of my hot takes. I've got Houston going 12-0. I actually have them going 11-1, but for the purpose of content, 12-0. So I've got to pick Houston.
Man, again, I really want to pick the Roadrunners here. And it would be like Houston, though, to lose this game and then win the next 11.
Yes, it would, which is exactly what they did last year, by the way.
Right. And me and Aaron are agreeing way too much on this. One of these teams is ultimately going to fail us. We're using reason here, and this is college football. I think this is a phenomenal game. It might honestly be the best, just pure game that occurs on this weekend of matchups. So I do have the Cougars. I don't think they lose yet. I don't have them 12-0 like Aaron. I think they go 10-2 and have a really good season. I like SMU in the American personally, but I understand the Houston pick. Dana Holgerson, I think, has them ready enough in this game, but I am going back and forth. I think I would be willing to perhaps flip my decision on this one. The Roadrunners were one of the best group of 5 teams in the country last year. We're able to run like crazy on just about anyone. We'll see. We'll see. Right now, I have Houston.
So this is strength on strength. I want to dive into this a little bit because this game is so good. 45 sacks from this Houston team a year ago. They were called Sack Avenue because of how often they sacked the quarterback. You take Sack Avenue versus Frank Harris, UTSA quarterback, who's just going to run around everywhere. The Roadrunners don't bring back Sincere McCormick. He was one of the best running backs, quite frankly, in the entire country. Harris can run as good as anybody. But it's really going to be the Frank Harris show. Can they protect him from Sack Avenue? I think that's going to be your big matchup, kind of in the trenches, so to speak, in this game. But should be, I think it's going to be a tremendous game. Can't wait for that. All right, number 25, BYU versus South Florida. South Florida's improved, but not good enough to beat a BYU team. BYU handles their business here.
It's one of the games. There's always one or two every week that I'm like, why is this on here? BYU is head and shoulders not only better this year, they're a better program than South Florida. Like BYU, the Cougars, they recruit at a higher level. Honestly, I think this could be a year BYU. I mean, they have a brutal schedule. They're going to ruin someone's season.
Yes.
A team or two season. They're consistent. They're ready to go at the line. The line is where they're really going to get dominated. South Florida will not be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think Bohannon's going to be running for his life. It's a good thing he's a dual threat. I have full confidence in BYU. So there's your kiss of death. South Florida, you're welcome.
Yeah, South Florida had not. We talked about Sack Avenue. The opposite of Sack Avenue is what South Florida did last year with 9 sacks the entire season. So I agree. Now, South Florida is a team on the rise. I think the transfer portal being in the location that they are is going to help them. I'm curious if NIL makes South Florida a bigger deal, but for the purposes of Saturday, yeah, BYU is going to handle some business there. All right, how about this, Jonny? We've got a great matchup. We've talked about all these stupid neutral site games. Can we appreciate that number 7 Utah is going to Florida on Saturday? They're going to flip this next year. Florida's going to Salt Lake City, which is amazing.
Love it.
That's incredible. But how about the Utes? We both actually have the Utes in our playoffs, so I think kind of by definition, we both probably have to have the Utes here. Depending on what odds you take, I've seen Utah as like a touchdown favorite. I've seen it like just straight up even. I do think the Utes handle business. Anthony Richardson will be the best player on the field for Florida, but it's whether Billy Napier can get the rest of his team to gel quickly enough to beat a consistent and a veteran Utah Utes team. And I think the Utes win in a close game, in a very hot game in the swamp in the first week of September.
Yeah, I think everything you said, I think the line now is dropped to 3, which I think's pretty solid. I wouldn't touch this game. This game being in Gainesville is like, it'd be interesting no matter what, but that's the real intrigue because Florida's the one who needs that home field advantage a little bit more. This is the type of game though that the SEC usually pulls out of their hat every week 1 that really solidifies them as we are the best conference in the country. This is one of those games that they sometimes steal, even though Florida is not necessarily a better team than Utah. On the road, they have a significant chance. Like you said, I have Utah in my playoff. They kind of have to win this game to get into the playoff, or at least they have 0 margin for error afterwards. I think they do beat Florida. I think it's a close, gritty game. My confidence level is pretty low on this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I wouldn't, I don't feel great about it. Richardson has that dynamic playmaking ability. It feels very similar to Oregon Auburn in that early season game a few years ago where Oregon was better than Auburn, like very clearly at the end of the year. And that game crushed Oregon's opportunity to go to the playoff. And it was just because Bo Nix was a wild man running around and eventually he made a play.
Yep.
It could be a very similar style game. Hopefully, Rising can get those points racked up like he did against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. If they're able to be effective on offense, I feel good about Utah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this will be a close game, but so much of the hesitancy of picking Utah in this game is when was the last time you saw them? You saw them getting blitzed by Ohio State. But a reminder that they were trotting out running backs out there trying to play cornerback because of how injured they were. This is going to be a different Utah team. I think they're just going to be simply better than last year, potentially, even though they lose Devin Lloyd. I think they could be better as a team overall. And they've got a schedule that they'll figure it out. They'll go 11-1. I think they win the Pac-12. I think they're in the playoff. All right, the next pick is, of course, number 5, Notre Dame versus number 2, Ohio State. Probably the game of the week. I mean, obviously, you've got a top 5 matchup. I've got Ohio State. I think Notre Dame is going to have any team is going to have a hard time slowing down that offense. I think this could be a higher scoring game. Earlier, I think I picked 34-20. If I had some more time to think about it, it's probably closer to like 44-30, because I don't think that Ohio State defense is going to be like ready to go, like clear improvement week one. Jim Knowles, I think, will get them there, but week one, playing against the best tight end in the nation, I know the quarterback's relatively inexperienced. Buckner at Notre Dame just basically got handed the job, but I do like the Buckeyes, but this like 17-point spread seems disrespectful to Notre Dame and how good I think Marcus Freeman's going to have this program eventually. I think Notre Dame's 10-2, but I think they give the Buckeyes all they can handle.
Yeah, I have the Buckeyes in this one, as most people do. Like you said, Aaron, the 17.5 is a little disrespectful in reality. I don't know if maybe I see that actually 17 being the final point spread, but just because that's what I'm thinking doesn't mean I think the spread should be that.
Yeah.
Me picking the Buckeyes to win by 17, I'd have it closer to 10. But, for all the reasons you said, Marcus Freeman's going to have them ready. I think they're going to be amped up. I think they're going to be energized and ready to go early in the game. I think they're going to be ready. I think if the defense is able to fluster Buckner, though, expecting not only the Ohio State back end to be better, but I expect them to be getting more pressure on the quarterback. Now,
Yes.
Notre Dame has a good offensive line, so it's a real tough test right off the bat. But I expect Ohio State's defense to be better at playmaking in this game. There's still going to be some dumb mistakes carrying over from last year. But, I mean, what you were saying, Ohio State's defense is going to set the tone for this game, no matter whether that's in a good way or a bad way for the Buckeyes from that perspective. So, if they're able to make any sort of plays on that defensive side, it might be a long day for Notre Dame. And I think that's really the perspective that most are coming through. And can Notre Dame slow down CJ Stroud,
Yeah.
Travion Henderson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba? Are they able to slow them down enough to get them off the field?
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, this is part of the reason Ohio State's able to come back against Utah is Utah almost scored too quickly in the Rose Bowl. And that sounds crazy, but you almost need against Ohio State to grind out drives, to take 7-8 minutes off the clock, even if it's a field goal, and just kill the momentum, kill the clock, give CJ Stroud as few opportunities as possible. I think they're able to do that for a half, and I think they're just not able to keep that up. So I have the Buckeyes winning. I think it'll be an entertaining game, though, and I think the Buckeyes win by about 13, 14 points.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think we're basically in agreement there. All right, two more. Memphis, Mississippi State. I can't fathom I shouldn't say that because then it's going to happen, but I'll say it anyways. I can't fathom a scenario where Mississippi State loses to Memphis twice in a row. Memphis will be all right, but Mississippi State should be much better. This is the third year under Mike Leach. They finally were that Mike Leach offense where they were fourth best in passing yards and dead last of all 130 teams in rushing the ball. So good job, Mississippi State. You're effectively running the Mike Leach offense. I don't think that actually gets Mississippi State any higher than 9-3. But I also think Mississippi State's probably content hanging around 9-3 every year and like an occasionally near 6. That's probably good for them. So I think that's probably where Leach ends up with his team, like he really has with his previous teams. But I do like Mississippi State. I don't really think I have anything else to say about that.
If Memphis hadn't beaten them last year, I would pull the trigger because we just talked about Washington State and even at Texas Tech, Mike Leach loses these games and then he goes and beats Oklahoma or Texas, or he beats LSU and Georgia. And you're like, how? You lost early in the season. It's a classic, just part of his team. They get better as the season goes on. When you are a little bit more of a gimmicky offense or a one-trick pony is usually like what they do brilliantly, but they're not agile as a program. If a team is able to shut down the passing attack even a little, they're very vulnerable.
Yes.
I don't expect this to be a blowout by any stretch, but I have Mississippi State winning.
Yeah, there's a chance that Memphis can still score some points. Will Rogers is going to throw for almost 5,000 yards like he did last year. If there's a scenario, and I don't think there is because Mississippi State plays a brutal schedule like the rest of the SEC West. If there's a scenario where Mississippi State can like really, really overachieve, get to 9-10 wins, I'm not saying you should bet for Will Rogers to win Heisman, but if you're trying to like go really, really, really deep dive and like classic Kevin Malone, like if you get 10,000 to 1 odds, you take it. There's your 10,000 to 1 odds player. All right, final pick of the night, and it's another really good one. Boise State and Oregon State, some Pac-12 after dark. Boise State, we mentioned it earlier in the show, I think has like legitimate New Year's Six potential. Now, it's not going to be easy. There's a couple of tall teams in their way in the non-conference. Oregon State's one of them, and towards the end of the year, they play BYU. So we'll see. They also draw Fresno State in the regular season. I'm going to say that Boise State splits the pair of games between Oregon State, BYU, and I don't think they lose to BYU. So I think they're winning week 1. I've got the Broncos beating Oregon State. Even though Oregon State, I think, might be like an 8-4 team. They might be the 4th or 5th best team in the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, I like the Oregon State team. It's another one that I'm really struggling with.
Yeah, this will be my confidence. I'm not going to give all my confidence level picks away. This is my confidence level 1, partially because I'm kind of picking an upset. But
yeah, like it, and it is and it isn't because of Boise State's name. And Boise State has not been in that New Year's Six conversation as much. In part, one because they have dropped off a little, but also the Mountain West has become consistent and excellent programs. Yeah. Fresno State is consistent. San Diego State is consistent. Wyoming is elevated, not this year, but they have in years past. Like San Jose State isn't even just a run over anymore. It's become a better conference and more consistent. So I am going to pick the Beavers here, though. Yeah. I am going to pick the Beavers. Me and Aaron got to be a little different here on something, and we will be different on confidence points.
Yeah,
so
right.
If you're following us as well, it's also going to be what we get wrong. Is just as important and might really be the determining factor in who wins or loses each week.
Is. Yes.
It often is just which one did you get wrong? You know, you could go 8-2 and the other person goes 5-5 and the points are the same because the ones they got wrong were their bottom 5 and you lost out on your top 2 confidence picks. So this week I think is a little nicer to us overall with some of these picks, but we're always surprised. So I'm going to go with the Beavers here on this one, just to be a little bit different. And hey, it would be fun for Oregon State to be good again, just to have a pop-up year. There's an opening. I know the Pac-12 North as a division doesn't necessarily exist, but the schedule is still. And behind Oregon, there's really nothing there. So Oregon State has a good chance to kind of slide into that gap, if you will. And so I'll take the Beavers. They start off well. They've been doing much better. They've been off my worst list for the last couple years. So that's good. That's the true measure of program building.
That's right. A couple points. Boise State, Oregon State, this matchup is a rematch of a 2013 bowl game. That's actually Oregon State's last bowl game. So they're looking bowl game win, I should specify. So they're looking for their first bowl game win in a decade. They might get it this year. Here's their schedule. I've got it pulled up. It's a brutal first half schedule. If they can manage it, then wow, who knows? Versus Boise State at Fresno State. I mean, you get the 2 best Mountain West teams back to back. Ooh, Montana State should be fine. Versus USC at Utah.
Hold up, though. Montana State's one of the best FCS schools.
Yep. I'm not trying to overlook the Bobcats. No disrespect here, but in a world where USC, Utah, Boise State, and Fresno State are your other teams, you would think Montana State's the one that is fine. But you never know. But yet USC, Utah, like you don't get UCLA on the schedule. So, I mean, it could be better, could be worse. But then like Stanford, Washington State, Colorado should be 3 wins. Bye week, Washington, California, Arizona State. None of those teams scare me. I think Herm Edwards is probably done before the season's over this year. And then versus Oregon, it's going to come down to the Civil War. Like, I don't know. Are we talking about a 9-3 Oregon, or I guess at that point a 9-2 maybe Oregon State team? Like, if that's the case, then potentially the Pac-12 is still in play. Potentially New Year's Six is still in play. I don't think it's going to be that good. Like I've got Oregon State going 8-4. I've got them finishing 5th in the Pac-12, but the opportunity is there. Chance Nolan's back at quarterback. Who knows?
For them, Aaron, building that program, an 8-4 season would be a huge step.
Yep.
Huge step, especially if they were able to pull off one of those against Oregon, Utah, USC. They're even just going 1-2 in those games.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yep.
Great job. And like you said, just manage the first half of the season. You can't lose to Montana State. And I think that schedule is part of why I have them beating Boise State. I don't think they're going to lose to Fresno, Boise, and Montana State. Like they need to go 2-1 in that stretch to start the season. And I think that's reasonable. So I guess what I'm saying is I have them beating Boise and probably losing to Fresno.
That's fair. And it is at Fresno State. So
right.
Yeah, a little bit more potential. I mean, this was a team that did go to USC, won by 18, beat Utah last year. So they have it. They have it in them. It's not out of the question. If you're looking for those Kevin Malone 10,000 to 1 odds in the Pac-12, you're looking for a team to bet. Again, why would you? But I think Oregon State's probably your dark horse. If there was going to be a dark horse, like I don't think it's Washington. Oregon, can you really call them a dark horse?
Gosh, it's not Washington.
Yeah, I mean Washington's going to be better. Like Kevin DeBoer is going to do some work there, but that's going to take some time. We're 2-3 years away from that. So
yeah, it's not his fault. It's as bad as it is.
Yeah,
it's one of those where like you win one game this year. I understand. Like it's not.
Well, they'll be better than that. They went to the transfer portal hard. Like they'll be good. Like good.
I'm not saying it will be one game.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying it'll be one win. Oh, you have 7-5, really?
Yeah, I do. Yep. Improved.
Like if they won like 2-3 games, honestly, I'd be like, I understand you're fixing this. Like it was a mess, honestly, when he got there after Jimmy Lake. So it's understood. Like this is year 2. Like I'm not going to kill the guy, but you are in the Pac-12 where there's more available wins to you than in other divisions and other conferences. Like you do get Stanford and Cal and
on Washington's schedule specifically, there's no USC, there's no Utah.
That's huge.
And
that's huge. Do they get Colorado then?
They get Colorado. They get, let's see, California would be the other I mean, that's.
Do they get what Arizona schools do they get?
Let's see.
I assume they get one of them at least.
They get both. They get Arizona State and Arizona.
Very manageable schedule for Washington.
Well, and think of it this way too. If we're talking Washington, just for a second before we wrap up. So here's the scores of their games. The law of averages, I've been told, does not exist. I would argue it does because here's the thing: if you lose a bunch of close games, unless your name is Nebraska, if you lose a bunch of close games, you will most likely win more the following year. Likewise, if you win a bunch of close games and win by the skin of your teeth, more often than not, you will lose more of those the following year. Here's the number of points allowed in some of their losses. Montana, 13. Oregon State, 27. UCLA, 24. Oregon, 26. Colorado, 20. If they have just an average offense, they're 8-4 instead of 4-8. And I think they have an average offense with Michael Penix. Like, I think he's going to be good enough to get them to an average offense. So I think 7-5 is like, it's not crazy to me because their defense was like not horrible. In fact, they were actually the best pass defense in college football last year. So,
really,
yeah. In terms of yards allowed,
you left the Michigan game out of there, but
but that was 31. It's not like Michigan hung 50 on them. Like
True.
and Arizona State scored 35. And Washington State scored 40. Obviously, we know how that was just a dumpster fire at the end. So I kind of looked past the Washington State game. I mean, you had Cougars fans storming your own field. That's not great. But I mean, this is a 7-5 team, like just by not being the actual worst on offense. Like they were 125th in rush yards last year. And when you account like teams like Mississippi State that didn't even try, like you're basically the worst. Like that, it's the same thing. Like if you're like 3rd or 4th to worst in pass yards, I'm like, well, Navy, Army, and Air Force exist. So you're actually the worst. Sorry.
Right. Because they throw it 4 times in the game.
Exactly.
Like, so it's not,
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's our week 1 preview. I'm excited for all those games. There's a good slate. I feel like they're relatively spread out. Like even some of the 10:30 p.m. Eastern time games will be a lot of fun. I know we're planning on hanging out. I've got like a menu all ready to go for Saturday. So should be fun.
Backyard brawls on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
Get you started.
Yep.
Like
Penn State. Can we pick that? I know this is not part of our picks. Can we pick Purdue, Penn State? What do you think?
I do have Penn State.
I've got Purdue.
Because I think everyone's picking Purdue, so I'll go with Penn State. I think they figure it out.
Yeah,
but
I have Purdue.
I understand. It'll be a great game.
Yes, the Big Ten West is fascinating because I think you have a bunch of teams very capable and very likely of going like 9-3. And Wisconsin's probably a leg above, but then it's Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska was in there. Whether they are
Northwestern replaces them.
Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they do. And so I think there has to be a team that goes like 10-2 and finishes second in the division. And I've got Purdue, and I know it's kind of trendy, and I know they lost a lot, but I like Jeff Brom, and I think they'll make it happen week 1 on a Thursday at home. So
key in on the ACC Group of 5 challenges. Virginia Tech on Friday, traveling to Old Dominion. Love it. You have on Saturday, App State hosting North Carolina. Absolutely love that too. Like going on the road. And then NC State is also going to be playing at East Carolina.
Yes.
Why they agreed to these things, I have no clue. But
yeah,
they're my favorite thing. I love it. The ACC is not going 3-0 in those matchups.
No.
So
no, they're not.
Keep a lookout for those games. That'll be fun because those home crowds for those Group of 5 schools, they're going to be ready and excited to host Big Brother.
Yes. We both have NC State pretty high, so it's obviously going to be the Wolfpack that lose. So
yeah, that'll be
just how it goes. All right. Well, Jonny, thanks for joining me. Podcast listeners, if this bonus episode made it to your ears, thank you for listening. We do stream this show usually exclusively on YouTube every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we'd love you to join us. We'll be pulling in guests here as we move throughout the college football season, throughout the NFL season as well. We'll be talking NFL on this show as well, but we do, in moments like this, enjoy just talking college football and taking a deep dive. So make sure you check us out on YouTube and make sure you check us out on our website for the Pick'em. You can make your picks. We'll have prizes for the winners. You can compare standings, play with your friends. You know how it goes. We'd love to see you there. So I think that wraps us up. We'll talk to you guys next week. Well, Jonny, thanks for sticking around. YouTube, we'll see you guys next week. Yeah, thanks for sticking around and recording.